This is the big one, folks. A year in which the International GT Open has celebrated its 20th season, its 300th race, and now the conclusion to an epic four-way title scrap. All four championships to be decided here at the Temple of Speed. It's the GT Open 500 at Monza to round out the 2025 campaign. 7 drivers are fighting for the overall title. 5 of them are in their first year in the championship. 4 of them in their first year of GT3 racing. No one has ever won back-to-back overall titles either. That could change today as well, with only 4 points separating Levente Reves from Christopher Haase and Simon Riker, with the drop scores applied. Tommaso Mosca and Carl Bennett, AF Corsa, Ferrari 296 also in the mix, only a further 12 points back from the East Talent Audi. Tom Leben and Tom Empson remain an outside contender in their elite Ferrari in their first ever GT3 campaign for both team and drivers. And this, George Morgan alongside me in the commentary box, is the car that has inherited pole position after several of Christopher Haase's Q2 lap times were deleted.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. Obviously, at the close of qualifying, we all thought that East Talent Racing were going to be on for a real opportunity, really, from pole position. Obviously, a lot can happen in 3 hours. We know that, folks. And obviously, at the close of play yesterday, due to some infringements in terms of track limits, the protest was filed by the Motor Park team. As a consequence, it's Levente Reves and, of course, Max Goetze starting on the front row of the grid. Of course, Reves is going to do the opening stint, but we welcome you all back to Monza, the Temple of Speed, our destination once again for the grand finale to the 2K25 International GT Open campaign. There is your current championship leader, Levente Reves. 4 wins now have been attributed to him. It all began at Portimao in race 2, already winning the Spa 500 earlier this campaign as well, looking to win back-to-back 500 races this season alone.
Remember, it's a double points race, so 30 on offer for the victory because it is the 500-kilometer race, which should equate to 87 laps, which we'll try to hit within a 2-hour and 55-minute window. Greystone GT also running very strong there. They're starting 3rd position with Jaden Kelly starting the number 27 car, and Tom Lebon starting the outside championship hopefuls, the elite Ferrari in their 296. Of course, the final year of the Ferrari 296 before they introduce the Evo package for next year. It's also the final year of the current Porsche 911 GT3R as well. And of course, the final year of the Lamborghini Huracan before they move over to the Temerario. But if you believe what's being said about that production, we may keep the Huracan for a little bit longer. There we saw just a glimpse of Steve Yance as well, who is going for his first Pro-Am title with Aaron Walker. It is just 1 point that separates the championship leaders there at GetSpeed from Valentin Pierberg and Dominic Baumann at SPS in that particular championship. But there is Simon Riker, surely aggrieved, down in 7th position now, after thinking they had pole position yesterday.
It'd be disappointing for them because Riker put in a fantastic performance in qualifying as well alike. There's Valentin Pierberg. That's the 2nd car going for the Pro-Am title as well. Like Chris said, 1 point between the top 2 in that Pro-Am championship classification. It's the same when you drop the points as well. Of course, we do have drop points to consider. Anthony Bartone, not with Fabian Schiller this weekend. We welcome Van der Zande alongside. Renger Van der Zande will be joining him for this race. Philip Salacada, we welcome him back as well for Team ISR Audi. Audi with a strong representation inside the top 10 with both East Talent and ISR for this one. And former teams champions as well. Oregon Team Lamborghini with Robin Rogalski and Tester as well behind the wheel here this time around. Rodrigo Tester doing the initial stint phase for this race. They are in front of Alexander West and Mark Sampson, also pushing for Mark Sampson to win the AM Championship this season for Garage 59. Alexander West will do the opening stint, the Swede, who has already been seen quite often already this season.
Yeah, Alexander West actually sharing a car with Benji Goethe.
I was thinking back to
for this
Hockenheim.
weekend. Yes, they have shared the car earlier in the year, but it's a second
Apologies.
car for Garage 59 this weekend. Mikey Porter and Zach Meakin back where they made their GT Open, their GT3 debut even a year ago. It was a very impressive outing for them. Tsunami Racing Team here with a second car. It's Bashar Maldini and Alex Fontana, the former Car Collection teammates, reunited here at the San Marino-based squad. It was some stones in the radiator that prevented Fontana from really putting in a strong overall effort for that car, but still they go from 5th position in the Pro-Am category. We just saw a glimpse of AF Corsa's additional car from this weekend, Ibrahim Badawi and Leonardo Colavita, the Italian GT champions who join us for this weekend.
Yeah, we also move further down to yet another Audi. Michael Blanchimont for Sansalot Racing, the French team siding up in 17th place ahead of Marcin Jedlinski in another Audi. Of course, strong Audi representation inside this grid of 31 cars. Marcin doing the initial stint. Carol Bash back alongside him. Of course, two drivers that have been a formidable force in Pro-Am in the past. Not in the title fight this time, but looking to end their season in great style. Also, we welcome back Racing Trevor with Max Hesse taking the opening stint. Going slightly against the grain here, Chris. They're fielding Hesse for the opening stint. Obviously, Zygo will be doing the second stint, but remember, of course, we've got to factor in that vital third as well.
Yeah, so it's Philippe Salicada, Max Hesse, and Lucas Dunner are the pros in the Pro-Am cars that have started. So that's the 65 Motor Park, Lucas Dunner starting in 21st, Max Hesse in 19th, and the ISR Audi, we saw the 75 starting in 10th position overall. A 31-car strong field to round off what has been an incredible season of racing with hugely competitive and voluptuous grids of beautiful GT3 cars, largely a mix of Mercedes, Ferraris, McLarens, Audis, Porsches, Lamborghinis, and BMWs here this weekend. 7 manufacturers fighting for the overall honours. 12 pro cars to throw into that mix as well. 14 in Pro-Am, where a lot of the action will be had. 5 in the Am category as well, where there is also a title to be decided. 6 points between the AF Corsa pairing of Gino Forgione, Michele Rugolo, and Mark Sampson's Garage 59 run McLaren. So the grid being cleared, and we can see once again this extraordinary grid, and it is 2 title contenders. The championship leader who'll start on the left-hand side as we look at it now. 3rd in the championship, AF Corsa, who have been on an incredible run of form with 3 victories in the last 5 races for Carl Bennett and Tommaso Mosca. Bennett in his first year of GT3 racing, having come over from the World Endurance Championship in the hypercar category. Tommaso Mosca, his first year in the championship, but familiar with GT3 machinery from Italian GT in previous years. It has been the year of the rookies. Let's look back at what happened in Barcelona last time out. Josh Rattican leading the field in the Greystone McLaren, but it was Christopher Haase who was making the epic moves into the high-speed turn 9 last time out on his way up to 2nd position. Haase then making the same move again on the Greystone McLaren, hunting down the race leader, wasn't quite able to do so. Swaps between Get Speed and Greystone later into the race, but it was Levente Reves who claimed his 4th victory of the season in Barcelona, his 3rd alongside Maxi Goertz. Took a while to get race 2 going with dramas for Amir Naran, but a great lunge from the AF Corsa Ferrari on Dominic Bauman's SPS Mercedes for 2nd place, and then Mosca absolutely lunging Christopher Haase into turn 5 to brilliantly take the lead of the race. That set them up for a fantastic win, a 3rd in 5 races for the AF Corsa squad, who keep their championship hopes very much alive. This is how it looks going into the finale. A 5-point lead for Levente Reves. That turns into 4 points when you apply the drop score. Tommaso Mosca and Carl Bennett right in the fight as well. Formation lap already underway for Nearly 3 hours of racing to conclude the 2025 International GT Open season. Here's how they line up. Levente Reves starts the championship leading number 11 Motorpark Mercedes from pole. Carl Bennett in the 51 AF Corsa Ferrari on the front row of the grid. Then it's Jaden Kelly in the number 27 Greystone McLaren. Tom Leben in the elite Ferrari trying to keep their championship alive. Steve Yance starts from Pro-Am pole position in the championship leading Get Speed Mercedes. Dean McDonald in the sister Greystone McLaren is 6th. 7th is Simon Riker, second in the championship after being denied pole position. Valentin Pierberg also fighting for the Pro-Am title. Anthony Bartone in 9th position for Get Speed. Philippe Salacada, 3rd of the Pro-Am runners for Team ISR in the Audi in 10th position. 11th is Rodrigo Testa in the first of the Oregon Lamborghinis, and then Alexander West in the guest entered Garage 59 McLaren. Mikey Porter starts 13th for Optima Motorsport, then Bashar Mardini in the Tsunami Racing Team Porsche in 14th position. 15th goes to Ibrahim Badoui in his GT Open debut for AF Corsa. Marcelo Ramirez rounding out his first season in the campaign with Get Speed. Michael Blanchemont in the Santaloc Audi is 17th, then Marcin Jedlinski in the Olymp Audi goes from 18th. 19th goes to Max Hesse starting the Racing Trevor BMW. Francesco Simonazzi starting the 63 Oregon Lamborghini in 20th. 21st goes to Lucas Dunner in the Motorpark number 65. Mark Sampson, the first of the AM runners, goes from 22nd overall. Johannes Zelga in the second of the Tsunami Racing Porsches is 23rd. And then Gino Forgiani starts directly behind his title rival. 25th is Yuri Navratil in the return for the 22 Audi. Laurent Demeyer starts the 55 AF Corsa from 26th. Darren Kell back with us in the Track Focus McLaren in 27th. Amir Naran in the Get Speed Run Vimana Mercedes goes from 28th on the grid. 29th will be Michael Fischbaum in the 180 Lamborghini. Alfredo Hernandez goes from 30th in the BDR Gruppo Prom Mercedes, and Stanislav Jedlinski rounds out the grid in the Olymp Ferrari 296. George, very quickly, what are we expecting?
Well, 30 max points available in the overall championship, 20 max points in both Pro-Am and, of course, the AM classification. Remember, it is double during this. A wide moment there from Marcin Jedlinski, just having a moment out of the Ascari chicane.
Did he have a spin, I wonder? Very bizarre.
Not quite sure. I'm not seeing a lot of tread in the gravel. It looks like he just spun it on track, just looping around, maybe just touching that curb. Obviously, the driver's putting in some key preparation now, as you can see, getting into 2 columns. You've got on the front row, Levente Reves going for the International GT Open title at the first time of asking, first season of GT3 racing, straight out of single-seaters, and he could yet seal the deal here today for Motorpark.
3 hours of racing to come, 3 pit stops to be served. The first window will open 37 minutes into the race. At the third and final pit stop, that is when we start thinking about the handicaps. In terms of the championship protagonists overall, it's only Carl Bennett and Tommaso Mosca who carry anything. It's 10 seconds for them. We'll keep you on top of all that as the race unfolds. 31 cars ready to do battle for the final time in the International GT Open. The 20th season of competition for the GT Sport organisation concludes with an epic title fight in a 500-kilometre race at the Temple of Speed. We are racing for the final time. A great launch there from Carl Bennett in the AF Corsa, but look at Tom Leben as well in the elite car, 3 abreast down into the Rettifilio for the first time of asking. It's the elite car that leads, and all going round. Jaden Kelly's been spun round, most of the cars not even taking the chicane. Dramas at the first time of asking.
Yeah, coming in at high speed. Unfortunately, the first casualty was indeed Jaden Kelly and the Greystone team. We run on board now with Mark Sampson and Marco Polcini. Of course, Sampson starting the race, going for that AM title, but what a start from Tom Leben, taking the lead at the first time of asking. As soon as we went green, he leads. At the moment, Carl Bennett...
And the top 4 in the championship now in the top 4 on the road. Great start from Simon Riker. He's made up a few places. It's Leben who leads Bennett, Reves, and Riker in 4th. You couldn't write that script.
No, brilliant stuff indeed. Riker getting a brilliant start after being hampered with the penalty that was issued yesterday. A little bit of movement elsewhere as now the incoming new car from AF Corsa, Badawi, looks to try and move his way up against Rodrigo Testa, fighting against the Lamborghini right now. Further back, of course, Francesco Simonazzi, the sister one, as now we see a little bit of squirreling further back. back. We run on board now with Steve Jans in the number 6 Get Speed car, right in behind the Tsunami GT as well. McDonald has moved up into P8 at the same time, ahead of Rodrigo Testa. Therefore, Testa in the arms of Badawi in that new AF course that it is brand newly entered in the International GT Open, specifically for the Monza 500. But it's Tom Leben here now on the opening lap of the race, leading the way for Elite.
And Philippe Salicada absolutely flying. Remember, he's one of the pros in the Pro-Am lineup, and it's just gone around Anthony Bartone for 5th position at the Alboreto curve. The American fighting back, and Mikey Porter also showing his nose as well. They go 3 abreast at the end of the first lap, down the start and finish straight, and it's Dean McDonald trying to make it 4 wide, but there's no space for that McLaren. He ends up giving a bump draft to his mark mate, so to speak.
Oh, no!
He loses it on the grass and wipes out the sister McLaren. A huge error there from Dean McDonald. Bartone has to take to the escape road as well, and that is just so unfortunate and looks like a left rear puncture there for Mikey Porter.
Yeah, a little touch there as well between Anthony Bartone and the ISR belonging to Philippe Salicada. He's still leading the Pro-Am class, but ultimately the contention, the battle was ultimately between McDonald and at the same time Mikey Porter, who has now fallen afoul from it, has spiralled down the order now. Seas of cars now moving past the stricken McLaren 720S. Let's take a look at this again. Just got onto the grass, lost all traction, and unfortunately Mikey Porter is sitting duck.
I'm afraid Dean is going to have to take responsibility on that one. Poor Mikey Porter. An absolute passenger in that one, and yes, an awful lot of damage to the left rear there. Now, whether that's suspension damage or just a puncture, it does seem like he's got that car going again. He is on the move. There's green flags now at turn 1, so he can get that car into the pits. But of course, we're not supposed to be, you know, doing pit stops and driver changes until near enough 40 minutes into the race. So that is a bit of a disaster for Optimum Motorsport, who I'm sure fancied their chances at a podium. That young GT4 graduate pairing has been on the podium several times throughout the year, but I don't think it's going to be the end of the campaign they were hoping for.
Jaden Kelly also falling afoul, obviously, very early on. It's been a really sorry start for Greystone as a whole, really.
Yeah, both cars in strife.
Both cars are in strife. Remember, Jaden Kelly put in a mighty qualifying performance. Things have been certainly been ripped up by and large in the opening stages of the race. Lucas Dunner getting past Max Hester in the Racing Trevor car. Great move there for Dunner, in fact. Hester, obviously a very stern contender, as we now watch Levente Reves make his way out of the first chicane, still giving chase after Bennett and Leben.
This is brilliant, though. The top 4 in the championship pulling well clear of the rest of the field as the number 19 Oregon Lamborghini. Now, who started that one? Rodrigo Testa just straight lined the chicane. But the top 4 pulling away here, and they're squabbling amongst themselves for the title. It's astonishing, this. You couldn't make it up. Quick note on Steve Jans. Didn't exactly have the best start from pole position, the Pro-Am category. He's down in 11th position overall now, and he's got 2 of the pro drivers who have started this race right on his tail now as well.
But he's still crucially ahead of Valentin Pierberg, which is ultimately what's important in the quest for the title. So that's all he needs to worry about.
And they're both carrying 10 seconds of handicap in that final pit stop, so they're on very equal footing. In terms of the Pro-Am, between that number 6 and the number 20, very simple. Whoever finishes in front will take the title here. For Steve Jans and Aaron Walker, they're going for their first title. Valentin Pierberg going for his second title, adding on to his 2018 accolade that he scored with Tom Onslow Cole back in the day. There's poor Zach Meakin limping back to the pits, but doing a good job to keep out of the way of the leaders. Yeah, just making sure that he's not interfering with the train of cars making their way down through towards Kerber Alboreto. And there's the offending car that essentially by and large caused it all. Dean McDonald operating in 7th place right now behind Anthony Bartone. It is still Tom Leben, though, dragging out an advantage of 1.3. Fastest lap, though, this time goes Carl Bennett's way. Not the 296 that leads the way, instead the 296 that sits in behind it in second, dragging along Levente Reves. Still Simon Riker. A brilliant start for the Easterland Audi team. Riker now up into 4th. It's now side-by-side between Bartone and Dean McDonald, and Bartone holding on to P6 for now and is in front of the McLaren 720S belonging to Greystone, and Rodrigo Testa also coming into this scrap, dragging along Badawi and Pro-Am P2's Bashar Mardini. It's been a winless campaign for Anthony Bartone in the car that he usually shares with Fabian Schiller, but he's been competing in the European Le Mans Series finale this weekend. So it is Renger van der Zande making his return to the International GT Open as Porter finally brings that Optimum Motorsport McLaren into pit lane, and the mechanics being put to work a little bit sooner than they initially anticipated.
Yeah, it's going to plunge another pit stop on to them as well. Not that they have enough already. Obviously, remember, we got 3 stops in total. The 3 driver changes that we will be unfolding. The battle now brewing over P6 at the moment. Bartone still very much the cork in the bottle with this one. Rodrigo Testa hot on the heels of Dean McDonald at the same time. Oregon, who obviously here at a home track, this is a round of significance here for Jerry Cannaviccio and Pier Giorgio Testa's team as Philippe Salicata licks up some of the gravel on the escape coming out of the Ascari. Leben still, though, in control. Let's take a replay of the start.
So it was a great launch initially from Carl Bennett, who got the jump on Levente Reves. But look at this with the slipstream and just a good launch there from Tom Leben and a bit of bravery on the brakes. 3 abreast for second further back. He gets a hit from Steve Jansters, Jaden Kelly. Now that could spell dramas for the Pro-Am Championship leader if he picks up a penalty for that.
Could well do. Of course, he's currently ahead of Pierre Berg right now, but if
we're going to see it on board.
Yeah, here we go. So we're riding on board with Steve Jans.
Oh, that is damning evidence, isn't it?
It is pretty much. The onboard tells its own story, and Steve Jans might live to regret that, making his way through the latter stages of this race.
Meanwhile, we just saw in the bottom right-hand side of the screen, Dean McDonald getting around Anthony Bartone for 6th position as we take an aerial view of what happened. Cars taking to the escape road. But aside from the relative melee at the front, I think everyone else got through pretty cleanly, I'd have to say. Of course, there were more dramas later on. Some of them didn't really make much of an effort to get through the chicane, though, did they?
Bartone just losing out to McDonald. He might lose out again because Rodrigo Testa is going up his inside, coming through Lesmo 1, and it does look like Testa has done it. And it's not just him, because in comes as well Badawi, looking to get the move done for AF Corsa as they come down the Soralio Straight. That's the live pictures as you're seeing it at the bottom right of your screen, folks. We're going to rejoin the action now, and as you can see, there's Dean McDonald, Bartone under pressure, the big almighty run from the 296 now looking to creep in. Badawi chasing down Bartone as we take a look at Jaden Kelly inside the pits right now. Unfortunately, Badawi unable to pull the plug, but just look at the bottleneck of cars now, currently fiercely fighting in behind Anthony Bartone as they come down in towards the final corner at Curva Alboreto. Surely Badawi's got to look to get this move done or frantically defend against those in behind. They include Mardini, include Steve Jans, who's having a look up the inside. He runs a little bit wide. Could that open up Lucas Dunner to potentially add his motorpark car in front of Steve Jans?
Remember the Porsche in front of us, the car we're on board with, and the BMW that's going past us right now is all for class position. A little bit of a touch there with Max Hesse as he's come through to take 2nd position. Is it now in the Pro-Am category? No, not quite. Steve Jans still not giving up on the fight against the Porsche as Ibrahim straight lines the chicane and Max Hesse gets forced off the road there by Steve Jans. So that gets me. Mercedes is in the wars again as Bashar Mardini looks on the back of Badawi. Now that is a pro car. It's the 19-year-old Egyptian driver who's at the wheel. And Mardini going for a lunge on the inside on that relatively new Porsche for Tsunami Racing Team, but backs out of it at the Della Roggia chicane. Former Super Trofeo racer is Badawi before moving into the Italian GT Championship with the AF Corsa squad. Yeah,
and quite a dynamic duo, this pairing that has now been brought in by AF Corsa. So we welcome them here after taking part in the Italian GT Endurance Championship. Colavita, his teammate, is a champion, much like Badawi. Champions together. We'll take a look at this now coming through turn 1. It got oh so frantic. There's Steve Jans alongside Max Hesse, and it was on the escape out of turn 2, and the BMW forced onto the gravel, therefore allowing Lucas Dunner to also move through in the motorpark Mercedes AMG GT3 that is currently hunting down the same manufacturer, but obviously different team. It is, of course, Get Speed Performance that are currently sat in front of them now with the Tsunami car being driven by Bashar Mardini showing the way. A little look there from down the inside from Steve Jans, obviously urgently. I can imagine the title is burning on his mind.
So it's second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth in Pro-Am, all line astern at the moment. A mix of AMs and pros, with Lucas Dunner and Max Hesse going against the grain there. You're on board with Steve Jans. He soaks up the slipstream with the Porsche, both naturally aspirated, but it's a 4-litre flat six going up against the 6.2 V8 as Ibrahim took a big dive on the inside, and Badawi did not get it stopped into the chicane, so he's going to have to come out. Well, he's going to lose out to all of those Pro-Am cars. That was poorly judged.
Yeah, that's an immense loss there for Badawi. Fortunately now he's lost out to Max Hesse, who now swoops through down the inside, coming through Curva Grande, along with many other places that Badawi had lost. And therefore now sits down in 13th place, just in front of Alexander West, who is 1.5 seconds back right now. There you see Max Hesse on the tail of Lucas Dunner as well. Now it looks like Bartone has been given somewhat of a reprieve, because now Mardini too busy dealing with the thoroughfare of Pro-Am traffic in behind. That includes Jans, Dunner and Hesse right now. Obviously, ultimately, I'm wondering whether Pierberg can strike a possible stance on this, because of course he is behind Steve Jans at the moment quite considerably, a number of places as it stands. It's 16th place for Pierberg, and it's 3.8 between Pierberg and Simonazzi right now. You'll hope that they'll congeal together as another look comes in, this time from Dunner, but still can't strike while the iron's hot on Steve Jans.
If you're new to GT Open, remember it's the red backgrounds on the numbers on the timing screen. They're the pro cars, so a silver class driver with either another silver, a gold or a platinum. The blue numbers are the Pro-Am cars, so one silver, gold or platinum and a bronze driver. The green is for all bronze lineups, with the exception of a couple. If you're silver and over 40, then you can also enter the AM category, which is the case for the championship leading AF Corsa Ferrari there. They take handicap as a result of it. That's another even one in terms of the handicap. Both Mark Sampson and the 21 AF Corsa taking 10 seconds later on. But we'll worry about that when we get to the third and final pit stop, as Bashar Mardini in that new Porsche from Tsunami Racing team, fielding a second car for this weekend. It's Alex Fontana who's sharing the car with, who's been doing a campaign with Hash at Car Collection, but the American focusing on his business ventures for the remainder of the year, as Carl Bennett started to close up on the back of Tom Leben. The Thai American was about a quarter of a second quicker last time around. Yeah,
really has broken into the gap, as Carl Bennett doing a great job. Obviously, remember, him and Mosca have been riding on a crest of a wave as of late, alluding back to recent victories. The most recent actual victory, he was at Barcelona, the last race that we witnessed prior to coming here to the Temple of Speed. Race 2 at Barcelona gifted them their third win of the season. The prior two were also back-to-back, remember, Paul Ricard and Red Bull Ring. Well, if they do the same again, you never know, they can strike twice. We've seen it before. Team managers for Car 6 to report to race control immediately. So that's Steve Jans.
Yeah.
So we could see the repercussions for Get Speed if they look sternly at that move into turn 1.
Well, that's one of two things, really, because it's the start incident, and then, big dramas for Amir Naran. The front of that Vimana Mercedes mangled, and that looks to be on the exit of Lesmo 2, doesn't it? And we've got our first safety car of the race, about 15 minutes into the running, and now that could have been a very timely move there, because Max Hesse was side by side with Steve Jans, and I think was just ahead when the safety car was called. So that is critical for what is currently third in the Pro-Am standings. But all these gaps that have been built are now going to be bunched up again.
Yeah, it's good news if you're Valentin Pierberg. There's one in the Pro-Am crown, because now he can close up a little bit close to the rest of the grid, and it now constrains that Pro-Am battle right up. Let's take a look at what happened. Down the inside at the first Lesmo.
Just loses the rear end.
My goodness me. The front end getting smashed up as he hits the Tech Pro barrier on the inside. In fact, it was the second Lesmo where it occurred on the run down towards the Seraglio, and the marshals immediately on hand, waving those yellow flags straight away. No guesses. Double wave yellows there, as you can see, as the safety car was then issued. And this was Max Hesse up the inside.
Ooh, that safety car board was lighting up
just as he was making the move.
As he was making the move. I think he might have to give that back, actually.
That's going to be down to race control discretion and steward's discretion, I think,
probably
at this
is.
point.
Yeah.
I would hate to be the one making the judgment on that, but obviously these drivers got to be careful here, because there is a little bit of debris you can just see on the circuit. So if they want to ensure that their tyres will make it to the first driver change period, avoid that debris like the plague.
It's been a tumultuous couple of races for Amir Naran, sadly. His Get Speed Run Mercedes wouldn't go anywhere on the formation lap in Barcelona a few weeks ago, and now this incident, and poor Tom Jackson hasn't got a chance to drive because he serves as driver coach to Amir Naran in our sort of sprint races, so to speak, where Tom doesn't actually do any of the driving. Amir runs solo, but for these endurance races, you have to have a teammate, and Tom
probably
hasn't
really
even got
looking
to do
forward
any
to
laps.
it too.
Probably was, yeah.
He hasn't had much of it. So as we watch Levente Revés making his way around. This hasn't worked out too badly for Revés, because at the same time this brings him closer to Tom Leben. But equally, on the other hand, it's a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde situation, because now Simon Riker is going to close up right onto the tail of it. And obviously, straight from qualifying, where it looked like it was going to be Haase and Riker starting on pole position, at the end of play, obviously the decision was taken by the stewards to issue a grid drop. Well, time deletions ultimately that led to the grid drop for Riker and Haase starting from 7th position. But now they're going to be together fighting for the title. And of course, you've got to factor in Carl Bennett and Tom Leben. So all four of the top runners, all fighting for the overall crown, manacled together in the opening stint.
Revés seems to have been the one with the pace, though, so far in this race. Of course, been tucked up behind Carl Bennett, though. So those four cars have actually been very evenly matched. There wasn't much separating them at all. So, we're under safety car conditions here. It is 4th in the championship, Tom Leben, who leads. 3rd in the championship, Carl Bennett for AF Corsa. Championship leader, Levente Revés in 3rd. And then 2nd in the championship, Simon Riker for East Talent in 4th position, having made up those places that were lost as a result of Christopher Haase's lap times being deleted from Q2. Felipe Salacada leads the Pro-Am standings for now for ISR. Remember, that is a pro driver aboard that car. 2nd in class is Bashar Mardini, their bronze driver from Tsunami. And then Max Hesser had just taken Steve Jans when the safety car was called, but we wait for news on if he has to give that place back. And then in the AM classification, there's been a bit of a to and fro between them, keeping an eye on it throughout the race. Gino Forgione was leading for a little bit, but Mark Sampson, the pole sitter in that category, has taken it back for Garage 59. So that's the top 2 in the championship, fighting for the title this weekend. Top 2 in the standings at the moment. Forgione in 2nd place for AF Corsa. And now 3rd in the AM category is Yuri Navratil for the full-in race Audi that rejoins us for this weekend. Darren Kell running in at 4th position in that category, the track focus car. We saw him in a Red Bull Ring, but here with Darren Leong, the World Endurance Championship racer. And I'm sure he'll be very much looking forward to a trip to Bahrain with the United Autosports crew in a few weeks' time.
Yeah, I mean, Mark Sampson in a great position here. Obviously, the last time winning at our last 500 race at Spa, incidentally taking the AM win, and has got good company lining up for this race. Obviously, we allude to Marco Polcini, the current reigning Pro-Am champion, of course, in the International GT Open, and actually did it back-to-back, because the first time of asking was 2023 with Eddie Cheever. We're now going to take another look at the replay with Amir Naran and the Vimana by Get Speed car pirouetting, coming through the second corner, coming through the middle sector, the second Lesmo, and indeed just hammering that Tech Pro barrier, and therefore out of the race. We saw Amir Naran standing by next to the recovery truck also, as we also have an update involving cars 17 and 51. That is noted, folks. Dean McDonald, I can tell you that the team manager of Greystone was asked to report to race control as well earlier on. So we could yet see quite a few potential penalties dished out, because remember, we reported Steve Jans, also their team manager at Get Speed, being asked to report to race control, no doubt to look at those incidents.
It's a shame for Amir Naran to end his 2025 campaign in the wall. And dramas for the Pro-Am Championship leader, Steve Jans, taking a 10-second time penalty for causing a collision at the start of the race, the one that pitched round Jaden Kelly's Greystone McLaren. Now, we're going to have to keep an eye on these, because these can only be served at the end of the race. You can't do them in the pit stop, for example, like you can in some other series. These are served at the end of the race. So we will make a note of it, and remember that Steve Jans taking 10 seconds, and that could be critical in determining the Pro-Am Championship. I'll just finish up my point about Amir Naran. 5-time podium finisher in the AM category. He's a bronze driver, so when he runs solo, he runs in AM, and had 3 on the bounce between Red Bull Ring and Barcelona as well. So a shame for his season to end that way. That's how it looks in the championship at the moment. It would be Levante Reves who takes it, but we still have 77 laps of racing to go, with 2.5 hours left on the clock as well. So we're not going to count any chickens just yet.
No, a lot can happen. We haven't even had our first driver change just yet, and we know how things can change during the driver change period. Of course, we go back to Belgium, Spa-Francorchamps earlier on this campaign. It looked like it was going to be Dean McDonald and James Kell romping home to victory, but it was during that, or just after that first driver change period, where we saw the electrical fault come into play. And unfortunately, Greystone had to bring the car back in again. They were in there for, I think, approximately 3 laps. Had unfolded. By that time, the race had slipped through their fingers, obviously. Very difficult to recover 3 laps when you're in a situation like that, so therefore they had to back out of it. They tried to get the car going again. It just wasn't to be, and heartbreak, obviously, for the Greystone team on that occasion. They've had a tough start to this race as well. The 500s haven't been their friends so far this season, and largely it put a dampener on what to be a blissful start to the championship campaign. Dean McDonald and James Kell were extraordinary at Portimao, taking the opening race win of the season when we went to the Algarve. Of course, it hasn't necessarily fallen into place like it did back then, but they have still shown that those shades of brilliance that have brought them to the dance here in the International GT Open, and they're looking to finish their campaign off in the right way anyway.
Something I failed to mention at the top of the show, George, that with Max Gertz and Levante Reves inheriting pole position, that is our 11th different pole sitter of the season in 14 races. Extraordinary. So Fabi Schiller, Alex Fontana, Dean McDonald and James Kell at Spa 500, Thomas Fleming, Arvin Kirchhofer, Tom Leben, Christopher Haase, Tommaso Mosca, Max Hesse, Jacobo Altway, Josh Rattigan, Gertz and Reves. That is a heck of a list. We've had 6 different race winners throughout the course of the year as well. Not quite reaching the heights that we managed to last year, but I will say everyone's been much more consistent this year, because we didn't really have to think about drop scores last year, whereas this year we've had to get the abacus out.
But we've also got to remember that by and large there are 3 of the 4 championship contenders that are effectively young drivers coming in and battling for the championship. Obviously Levante Reves in his first season of full-time GT3 competition, racing in the International GT Open. We also welcome Carl Bennett, of course, and Tommaso Mosca, 2 young stars also representing AF Corsa. And then at the same time, we've got to factor in the 2 Toms that currently lead this race, Tom Leben and also Tom Emson. Of course, Leben coming in after becoming a GT4 European champion. We met, of course, his teammate from that series run, Josh Rattigan, of course, this season as well. And both of them have been absolutely sterling. We look back at Hungary, where the Elite Motorsport Ferrari pairing were absolutely brilliant in netting together their first win in the International GT Open, and it's just been step-by-step growth on growth, and once again bringing them to the dance here at Monza, taking the lead in such grand style coming into the Rettifilio, and still they hold it now.
It has been the year of the rookie, hasn't it, here in the International GT Open. Of the 7 drivers fighting for the title, 4 of them in their first year of GT3 competition.
And now the Italian GT champions.
And now the Italian GT champions as well. Yeah, similar, same car that they run there. Safety car in this lap, so we're going to get back going again very shortly. But talk about Jane Kelly as well, coming from the McLaren 1 Make Series. Josh Rattigan from GT4 as well, making the step up into this level of competition. It has been a great proving ground this year as well for so many young drivers to come up through the ranks, and the future of GT3 racing looks so safe in the hands of these rising stars who are currently at the head of the field. Levante Reves, of course, coming from the Euroformula Open Championship, another GT Sport organisation series, and what a maiden campaign it has been, alongside primarily Maxi Gertz, the busiest man in GT racing by the sounds of it, has also shared the car with Matteo Cairoli at times. But the safety car coming in now, and Tom Leben will let the safety car go. It's 2 Ferraris leading the way. Elite Motorsports concluding their first year of this brand new campaign, a team steeped in the history of Ginetta Championships and GB3 competition as well. And now coming to the end of their first year of GT3 competition, having recently expanded into GT4 as well. That's where their 2 drivers have come from, creating a ladder series. Tom Leben puts his foot to the floor and gets this race back underway, and it is a beautiful restart from Tom Leben. He's caught Cole Bennett absolutely napping, and he's got the championship leader for relatively close company. Simon Riker also a little bit slow off the mark there as well. He's got the Pro-Am leader, Philippe Salicada, for close company down the start and finish straight, but everyone keeping it neat and tidy under brakes. This time, unlike the original race start, single file through here, side by side again between Max Hesse and Bashar Mardini this time. Max Hesse takes 2nd place in the Pro-Am standings. He's got 3 pro cars between himself and his class leader though.
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily the greatest of restarts there for Simon Riker, but despite not necessarily getting close, should we say, in terms of being within 5/10 or so to his leader in front. We'll take a look at the Pro-Am Championship just briefly. Aaron Walker and Steve Yans, obviously remember 97 points as they currently sit on track right now. Bear in mind, not forgetting the 10-second time penalty will be applied later on, and therefore that could cause quite the upset as we make our way through the entirety of the near 3 hours that we're going to be racing here at Monza, as they now hurtle down the Seraglio straight. Dust being kicked up this time by the 65 motor park car of Lucas Dunner, just moving into the gravel. Yet another driver progressing from the Euro Formula Open Championship, and in recent times has been taking part in the International GT Open as well as rallying championships alike as they fly through the Ascari chicane. Max Hesse all over the tail this time around of Anthony Bartone, the current Pro-Am P2 driver, ahead of Bashar Mardini as it stands. Bartone's about to have company because now the BMW looking to open things up. The M4 GT3 looking to take a long way around here. Might choose to double back though and then move to the inside on the run down the long straight. Has Hesse got the run, or has he been blocked off? Bartone, known for his defensive abilities. We saw him back at Red Bull Ring. Well, Hesse is going to open him up like a can of beans here this time. And the BMW M4 GT3 now looking to sprint down through towards turn 1. He's got the idyllic line heading through to the first half of the apex. The timing screen has obviously suggested that he is now in P8. The transponder crossing the line first on that BMW, and he will move past Bartone and higher than the Mercedes into P9 now, or P8 I should say. Bartone down in 9th.
So he's dispatched one of those cars between himself and Philippe Salicada. It's the car he's really fighting. So Rodrigo Testa and Dean McDonald's between himself and his class leader. Dramas for Darren Kell, the father of James Kell, in that track-focused McLaren, facing the wrong way at what is presumably the first corner.
He's down in 25th, Darren Kell.
Let's see what happened here. So he's got the Optimum Motorsports McLaren directly in front of him, and I think maybe a little caught out under braking and just losing it by himself, really. Speaking of that Optimum McLaren, the incident between Mikey Porter and Dean McDonald, no further action on that one.
Yeah, of course it was the incident involving Mikey Porter as well on that occasion as well. Obviously, Darren Kell nearly coming a cropper against the Optimum Motorsport McLaren on that occasion, but not Greystone on that visit. It was more track focused here this time. Simon Riker behind the wheel of the Easterlent Audi R8 LMS, now flying through around the final corner, is also being met by the Audi of Philippe Salicada, our current Pro-Am leader here in this race. As they sprint down through towards turn 1, Riker losing a little bit more time once more. It's 1.6 back out near enough to where it was prior to the safety car coming out. Bashar Mardini getting closer to the back of Anthony Bartone as Leben kicks up some of the dust that is now sat on the track after certain cars have made their way through the grassy verge and brought it back out onto the circuit. It's now been cleaned off by Leben by and large, and the rest of the cars can now funnel on through cleanly as they come through Curva Grande once more. So the front 3 now starting to break away, becoming their own group once again. Riker, Salicada, Alicata, McDonald, Testa, Hesse, all part of that second group with a 1.4 second gap then back to Anthony Bartone, who's joined again by Bashar Mardini. Steve Jans, remember, with the 10-second time penalty, 3/10 behind Mardini as it stands, but crucially enough, still in front of Valentin Pierberg as we see some side-by-sides further back. That was an Oregon Team Lamborghini up around the outside of Max Hesse as they come down the next straight. It looks like Testa might have, no, doesn't have the better line. Hesse up the inside, coming out of the second corner.
So Hesse up to 7th now, ahead of Testa, and now only one car between himself and his class rival. Max Hesse, who concluded his IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship campaign at Petit Le Mans last weekend as a factory BMW driver. BMW have been sewing up an awful lot over in the States of recent times. Won't spoil any of the results of this weekend's competition. But Max Hesse on his way now, closing in on the class leader ahead of what will hopefully be a full season campaign, at least for Antal Zygo. Whether Max Hesse is still his teammate next year, that will remain to be seen. But certainly the Racing Trevor squad enjoying their races that they've had with us so far. Marcin Jedlinski with a 10-second time penalty for contact with Michael Blanchimont. Now, I don't think we saw that, but we did see Jedlinski sort of spinning or moving very slowly on the formation lap, so maybe that is related, as Bashar Mardini takes Anthony Bartone for 9th position, which is a good effort from the bronze-rated driver.
Yeah, Ravesh also taking the fastest lap of the race as well. The last time around, 1:45.501 from the Hungarian, as Bashar Mardini, as you so rightly said, moving past Bartone now into 9th. Obviously, we did see it earlier on, Rodrigo Testa and Hesse coming through the second Lesmo, as we saw it. Of course, Rodrigo Testa a little bit unfortunate not to get the run. It fell in the hands of Hesse, who utilised that BMW grunt, as we ride on board now with Steve Jans all over the back of Anthony Bartone. Mercedes meets Mercedes.
Get Speed meets Get Speed as well. Both coming out of the same stable, out of the same garage. Now, if you're Get Speed, what do you do here? If Steve's quicker than your pro car, the one fighting for the championship, do you tell Bartone to get out of the way?
Tough call. Obviously, Bartone wants to run his own race. At the same time, they don't really want to cause a problem because often teammate mix-ups can cause drama.
But he's got class rivals right behind him. Lucas Dunner, who's was a very rapid young silver class driver. So if there is going to be a decision, it needs to be made quite sharpish with these 3 Mercedes line astern at the moment. Yeah. Or a lot of opposite lock for Steve Jans. He took too much of that curb through the Alboreto curve. That's going to compromise his run all the way down the start and finish straight.
Yeah, obviously it's a slightly raised curve there coming through Curva Alboreto, so you touch it at your own peril. If you get that front right on there, you may find yourself losing the rear. And speaking of losing something, it will be Michael Fischbaum, who is currently stranded, trying to get the car restarted right now, as we now see the 65 of Lucas Dunner cutting off at the chicane as well. Steve Jans just funnels in front of him here. A flash of the lights here. This is, I think, Steve Jans sending a message to Bartone saying, listen, help me out here. They come through Curva Grande now once more, down through towards the heavy braking zone. Is there going to be a change in between these two? Side by side, Jans with another look, can't quite funnel his way across, and Dunner remains ahead of the 62 that's currently locked in behind of Ibrahim Badawi.
There's yellow flags at turn 9 at Ascari, which is where the Autosport Racing Lamborghini has parked up. Haven't seen how or why it's ended up there, but it is there nonetheless. And if it cannot be extracted, then we may well need another safety car intervention. Steve Jans with momentum, so he can overtake into Ascari, because that's turn 8. Oh, actually, no, he can't. The yellow flags are actually starting a little bit earlier than we thought, so Jans has to back out of that one and follow him through that high-speed chicane once again. There's Riker trying to keep Felipe Salicada at bay, falling off the back of the top 3 now, 2.7 behind Levente Reves. And this is what happened to Michael Fischbaum. So he had some sort of problem on the way in. Oh, and loses the car on the re-entry. And then seemingly just hasn't got it going again since. And this is why Lucas Dunner ended up skating across the runoff area. It was because he had a bit of a squeeze there from Steve Jans, who's really having a bit of a scrappy race, must be said, for quite a shiny bronze driver and someone who has been on incredible form in that Pro-Am Championship this year. Pressure seems to be getting to him a little bit.
Well, that front hood looks a little bit askew, I think, no doubt, after the initial impact that we saw on the opening lap for that Mercedes-AMG GT3. There's our race leader back again. We haven't really been spending too much time with them through the course of this initial phase of the race. They've been on their own, largely. There's Mikey Porter, who's had his own fun and games here today. He's trying to cruise up onto the back of the Audi. There is the 188, of course, just in front at the same time. As they creep through the Curva Grande now, here comes Mikey Porter, just looking to try and recover anything in this race.
Yeah, I mean, Porter's 5 laps down from the next car at the moment, 6 laps from the race leader.
Of course, making an early pit stop.
Yeah, that 188, that is the AM Championship, the AM leader and AM Championship contender, Mark Sampson. As you can see, as it stands, that would not be enough to usurp Rugolo and Forgione at the head of the championship. But, of course, still a very long way to go. He has managed to put a car between himself and his class rival, which I'm sure is going to help proceedings a little bit. Mark Sampson, once again, enlisting the services of Marco Polcini, a 2-time Pro-Am champion in the GT Open alongside Eddie Cheever.
Reigning as well.
Yeah, he is actually still the reigning, outgoing champion now, we have to say, don't we? We're pretty much guaranteed new champions in, Pro-Am and Am at the very least, because Walker and Jans, they've never won a title. And Dominic Baumann has not won a championship in the GT Open, although Pierberg has. So whichever way that goes, at least one of the names will be new.
And we had a very enjoyable Dominic Baumann campaign back in 2023 when he came in alongside Mikael Pitamba, if you all remember at home as well. It was a fabulous run for him, and we do wish Mikael Pitamba all the very best, as we often do. Gave us a standout finish back at Barcelona at the end of the 2023 season. As now we see the driver changes on for the first time, as now Karel Bash will hop in place of Marcin Jedlinski. Mark Sampson hopping out of the AM contender, or the AM Championship contender. Marco Polcini will hop inside the car instead in the 296. Jim Pla steps in for Michael Blanchimont for Santaloc Racing Audi, who were also in the heat of the action at the very start of the race. The tyres now getting changed by the pit crew for the Santaloc team as we now rejoin the action out on circuit. Serralio straight elsewhere, still no movement from the drivers up at the very front, and I can't imagine we will see much from Leben, Bennett and Rivest, but Riker, I'd imagine he'll come in as soon as possible.
Potentially Bennett, potentially Rivest, I'd have thought. Mosca's
Bennett,
been the quicker of the two usually throughout the campaign. Rivest and Gertz have been pretty even on pace, but Gertz with a bit more experience, of course, a Mercedes factory driver. So let's see what happens. Imagine Tom Leben will stay out.
The question is, do you want to stay out and pressure Leben rather than give him the clean air?
No, Rivest is coming in. Carl Bennett's staying out, though, and Simon Riker also coming in the East Talent Audi. So that answers, well, half a question, I imagine.
I wonder whether that's Bennett's idea of sort of keeping the pressure on Leben a little bit. Obviously, if you give him that clear air to allow him to build a gap, then it could really negatively affect you, even with the brilliance of Tommaso Mosca stepping into the car as well. In comes Simon Riker. Haas is standing at the ready to change over the two drivers. Riker, after that sterling qualifying effort yesterday, putting them right in the pound seats, and a great start to this race as well. In come yet more changes. The number 8 McLaren also in the box. Benji Goethe in his start here in the International GT Open. Remember, Oliver Goethe, a champion in the Euro Formula Open Series under the GT Sport banner as well. Great to have Benji Goethe here. And
Renger van der Zande making his official return to the International GT Open. 12 years on from his first season in GT racing with the Seyfarth Motorsport team in their AMG SLS. An overall winner here in the International GT Open before he made a name for himself in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. Two-time winner of the Rolex 24 Hours with Cadillac, and as we were saying, for Max Hesser, just wrapped up his IMSA campaign in the Meyer Shank Racing Acura with Nick Yellerly as well. Out into the race comes Maxi Gertz, who is not one of our championship contenders. He is Levente Rives's primary teammate of the season, you would say, but because his services have been so in demand, racing at British GT, GT World Challenge, in Asia, in America, in IMSA, in every corner of the world, except for Antarctica, I think, basically. There are 2 races that Maxi Goetz hasn't joined us for, so Levente Reves is the sole championship protagonist in that car. And we think back to Barcelona 2 years ago when Motorpark and Diego Menchaca thought they had won the championship, the tears coming from Menchaca's eyes, only to find out, actually, sorry boys, you hadn't quite done it. They've been out for redemption ever since.
Just seen there, Carl Bennett literally launch his seat, and it hit the fuel hose just as the engineer was trying to move around, and I just saw a brief apology there from Carl Bennett. I think he was a little bit worried that he might have hit the engineer.
Sorry, mate.
Just on the other side, yeah, just launched the seat straight at him. But
don't get that at Tesco at the fill-up pump, do you?
No, you definitely don't. I hope we don't when we take the hire car back on Monday. Anyway,
it'll be me doing it, so lobbing it, not.
Yeah, no, absolutely. As we now see more driver changes, the 79 Porsche also stepping up, ready for its driver change. Fabio Babini will be hopping in fresh off the back of a GT Cup Europe qualifying session earlier today, so he's very well, I think, greened into the surface of the Monza track here today.
Now there's a battle we've been wanting to see for a while. Haase versus Goetz, and here comes Tommaso Mosca as well in the AF Corsa Ferrari. Tom Leben yet to make an appearance in pit lane though, but here comes the Italian GT champion in his first season of GT Open competition, and does rejoin just ahead of Maxi Goetz. Now this is where things are going to get very, very interesting. So these 3 cars are still in the same order that they were in before the pit stop phase, but new drivers aboard. And
now we're seeing the effects of Christopher Haase behind the wheel of the Audi R8 LMS as well. He's starting to creep and peep up on the back of Maxi Goetz at the moment, who's currently occupying on track P12. Of course, Mosca out in front of Goetz at the moment is effectively, for now, your net race leader. Of course, we get to see Leben right now. We've got a little bit of a car park starting to brew here. Leben fielding the fastest lap of the race. Now, that's crucial during this driver change period because it will help their growth up at the very front and confirm not just the on-track lead to become net race lead when he now conforms to the pit stop, offering Tom Empson a great opportunity. Francesco Simonazzi hopping out of the 63 Oregon team Lamborghini. He will then hand over to his teammate Artem Petrov here this time around. Of course, remember, any handicaps that do need to be fielded will be done during the 3rd driver change period, everybody, as now we watch as Mosca flies down through towards Ascari with Goetz in hot pursuit and Haase creeping upon those 2 in front of him.
So if these 3 are going to be on it, they need to be on it straight away because Leben is pumping in the sector times at the moment, and actually Salakada is doing the same thing as well in 2nd position overall. Remember, he is yet to stop. The top 8, in fact, yet to make an appearance in pit lane. We're about 21 laps into it. 22 actually completed by the race leader, I believe. And Mosca goes over the line in that net 2nd place. More driver changes here. The BDR Grupo Prom team. Only 1 car for them this weekend because normally, well, new Michael Dorbecker and Alfredo Hernandez have been running solo for the last couple of races, but you need a teammate, so they've stuck them in the same car. Ever since Louis Michael Dorbecker decided to run solo and maximise his time in the car. He was sharing that car with Amory Bondwell at the start of the season. The Super Trofeo champion still making an appearance at these races as a driver coach. And yes, Tom Empson now climbing aboard the elite Ferrari that has led since the start of the race. Still 7 minutes left on this driver change window, though. So he did have more time to use there. Maybe he felt like he was coming to the end of the performance of the tyres. You see a fresh set of Michelins going aboard. And it's going to be critical to see where he comes out in relation to these 3 cars. But based on the pace that Leben was setting, I would suggest that they will come out ahead of these guys.
Yeah, very much likely. Obviously, it was fastest laps being pulled together by Tom Leben just prior to him coming into the pits. As now we see Haase getting closer and closer now to Maxi Goetz. It's now only 1.1 seconds between those 2. As it stands, they fly through the Ascari chicane. In fact, now Haase 9/10 on the escape as they now enter Sector 3 proper. You could just see Mosca still nursing a 1.3 second gap, really determined to try and close down on Emson. This could be a very close tie-up here on the way down through towards turn 1, because Emson hasn't left yet, and this trio are just coming through the final corner at Curva Alboreto. All eyes on the prize.
It's just
here
leaving
after
the
the
pits
initial
now.
change. Yes, just leaving now. The yellow car is rejoining. So the elite racing Ferrari, I mean, just look at the work that Leben has put in. He has been certainly in possession of a decent gap here ahead of Tommaso Mosca. So not a lot has changed. Leben, a sterling job up at the front prior to their swap.
A cracking job there done by the elite squad to get that stop done in a timely fashion there as well. So yet to come into the pits, Felipe Salicada, Max Hesse, D. McDonald, Rodrigo Testa, Steve Yance, Lucas Dunner and Ibrahim Badawi, as it's game on again between the Get Speed Mercedes and the Tsunami Racing Team Porsche, and I would suggest that is Renger van der Zande retaking that place from Alex Fontana. No, in fact, it's Fontana trying to get around van der Zande, excuse me.
Yeah, getting close, battling over 12th place at the moment as we're seeing it on track. Fastest lap from Tommaso Mosca as well. Instant reply to Tom Leben pretty much as they come down through towards the Roger chicane. You can see now Hesse confirmed as our on-track race leader for now as he gets past Felipe Salicada. That's a change for the Pro-Am lead as we're seeing on track as well at the moment, though bear in mind they've got to come in and fulfill their driver changes. There's the 63 of Artem Petrov, currently being met as well by the Garage 59 crew in the number 8 of Benji Goethe, who we welcome to the International GT Open this season. They're now going to charge down the Seraglio straight, and we ride on board with championship contender Valentin Pierberg, who's now swapped out for Dominic Baumann.
Look at this though, George. It's really closed up for the leader. Mosca's going for it into the Alboreto curve. The two Ferraris going side by side here on home soil at the Temple of Speed. Tom Leben had led this race from the off. Now with Tom Empson at the wheel and Tommaso Mosca at the wheel of the AF Corsa Ferrari. The change is on here with just over 2 hours left on the clock. Right in the wheel tracks is Tommaso Mosca. He pulls out to the outside at the Rettifilio chicane. Late on the brakes there for the Italian. Can he go all the way around the outside? Yes, he can. Tommaso Mosca takes the lead of the GT Open 500 for AF Corsa.
Fantastic move from Mosca, and going to show the growth that he has made through the course of this season. They were 3-time race winners in their last 5 starts.
Oh, wait
here
for
at the
it,
International GT Open. Here comes now back, returning the serve, Tom Empson. Could he potentially go for the move in the Rogier? No, he certainly does not go for it. He reneges the move, decides to remain in second for now. This opens a huge window of opportunity now for Mosca. He's got the clear air in front, and Empson could yet be troubled by Goetze and Haase, who are creeping up behind.
Dramas for the BMW though. That's the race leader, Max Hesse, with the rear bodywork flailing around. Now that is the overall race leader. It's gone.
It's off.
So, well, there'll be no intervention from race control, I'd have thought now, with a black and orange flag. But this is the top two. They're putting laps on these cars. So that's Felipe Salicada trying to put a lap on Dominic Baumann because the SBS Mercedes has been into pit lane. And let's see what happened to the BMW trying to get around the BDR Gruppo Prom car. And a clatter from the side of Dominic Baumann on the exit of the Rettifilio chicane.
And an exposed rear right wheel arch. You're about to see it now. Just look at this. You can see all of the Michelin rubber on the rear end. A large amount of shell being ripped away from the BMW M4. And Dominic Baumann gave the hand gesture coming through Curva Grande at the same time. He didn't appreciate that.
That is going to be awful for the aerodynamics on the BMW M4 because with that exposed wheel, there's going to be so much drag, I'd have thought, on that car. And it's not the easiest element to replace, I don't think.
It's either that or less weight. I'm not sure which way it's going to work.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure it has the sort of full release. You know, on the Ferrari, you can just take the whole rear end off in one move for situations exactly like this. I don't think BMW quite implemented that on this car, which was new for this year. Don't forget the Evo version of the M4. Which we are seeing more and more now in the International GT Open, thanks to the Racing Trevor squad. But here are the race leaders, and Christopher Haase closing up to the back of Maxi Goetz now. But into the pits has come the Racing Trevor BMW, the ISR Audi, James Kell getting aboard the Greystone McLaren, Aaron Walker aboard the Get Speed Mercedes, and Heiko Neumann aboard the Motorpark Mercedes as we see the lead change once again.
Brave decision for Badouri to go for another lap, I have to say. Obviously, we'll see whether he can get round because he's still not yet undertaken the driver change. It's about 1 minute 45 to complete a lap round here. We've only got a minute left until the driver change comes to an end. So
he's not going to make it. He's only at the. He's not even at the Lesmo.
No, so that could counteract against him. Where on earth is he right now?
That's a big ball drop from AF Corsa. He's making his way around Lesmo 1 and into Lesmo 2. I don't think he's going to make it.
No, I think
45 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah, he'll be the last driver to make the stop if he does make it. But I would suggest, Chris, 40 seconds left to get through the Serralio Straight and Ascari, then later make your way around. I don't think he's going to make it at all.
Well, we'll keep an eye on it. But that is. Yeah, a big boo-boo on the on that side of the AF Corsa garage.
There is debris at turn 1 being reported as well by race control,
that's
hence
the
yellow
BMW.
flags.
That's the BMW rear end. That until we get that cleared, that means there'll be no overtaking down there. These are the last few cars making their way out onto the racetrack. 10
seconds.
He's going into the Alboreto curve now, is Ibrahim Badouri. He's got to get to the pit lane entrance. And 2 seconds, 1 second, he's missed it.
He's missed it.
So that is going to be a penalty coming in for the 62 AF Corsa car.
Yeah, not making it to the pit lane in a timely manner. In he comes now.
His first garage as well. I'm sure that's what they were banking on, but this is a stop outside of the window, I'm afraid. They missed it by just a few seconds.
Yeah, really unfortunate. Obviously, we'll wait and see what the stewards make of that.
Car 9 has been told to give back the position to 89. So that's Renger van der Zande has been told to give back 12th place to Alex Fontana. So I don't think we saw the full incident on that front.
We saw them battling earlier on.
We did. There was a little bit of argy-bargy
there was
through there, but clearly race control feels that van der Zande maybe went off the track and gained some sort of lasting advantage out there. So that's Marco Polcini, the AM race leader, with his title rival, well, Mark Sampson's title rival, right behind him as well. So top 2 in AM, top 2 in the championship. Line astern at the moment. It's in favour of Mark Sampson with Marco Polcini at the wheel. I had a flurry of teammates this year, has Mark Sampson, due to the original plans falling through. But it is now Michele Rugolo. Now, I alluded to the silver class exception rule earlier, and Rugolo is an example of that. A silver class driver at the age of 43 who can compete in the AM category with his bronze driver. And so that is game on there, with Vincent Abril aboard the blue AF Corsa Ferrari right behind them, and Jim Pla in the Santalok Audi, who replaces Marcus Pavrud for this weekend.
Of course, Miguel Ramos, who you were mentioning earlier on, a former 2-time member. He was alongside Mark Sampson and largely was going to do the season with him. Obviously, unfortunately, falling foul to illness, and therefore we won't see him see out the campaign. But we do wish Miguel Ramos very well indeed, and hopefully we'll get to see him around very soon. But of course, a legend of the series, as now we see Haas starting to eat into the deficit between himself and Max Gertz. This is a battle in amongst the top 4 in this race, and also part of the top 4 in the championship. Haas squirming all over the back of Maxi Gertz. This is the battle we were hoping to see, as now Gertz runs a little bit wide on the escape, coming out of the Ascari chicane. Now, will that hurt that momentum? James Kell getting past Libel Milotta as well at the same time, but this is the one we want to see. Number 11 now under pressure from number 1 of Easterland Racing's Christopher Haas. The hair is looking to fly once again. Coming out of Curva Alboreto, it's all going to come down to the run, but I think that Mercedes might just have enough momentum and enough straight line speed to prevent the Audi R8 from punishing Gertz heading into turn 1.
And there is a backstory to this, Josh, because of course it was Motor Park who protested Christopher Haas's laps in Q2 and got pole position taken away from them. And I'm sure that Haas would love nothing more than to pass his title rival car.
Extra incentive.
Top 2 in the championship right there. There has been a bit of a to and fro in terms of protest between these two teams. Not just about the track limits, I will say that. But look at that, Mosca trying to get around the track-focused McLaren. That's Darren Leong now at the wheel of that car. And these two now 1.2 behind Tom Emson's elite Ferrari, who in turn is now 3.8 behind Tommaso Mosca, who has pulled the pin since taking the lead of the race about 10 minutes ago.
Well, they come out of Lesmo too. Once again, we're rejoined with Haase and Geerts. They're both closing in on Tom Emson as well. Gap is 1.2 between Emson and Geerts as it stands, but obviously the closer battle is the 0.5 of a second gap between Geertser and Haase as they come into Sector 3 proper. It's now being brought down to 0.2 now between these two. Audi meeting Mercedes, but again, that straight line speed on the Merc might favour Geerts this time, unless Haase can get the run. You can just see picture in picture now, folks. We're going to have a replay of what might have happened before. We've got highlights here after the first hour, Chris, and it's been a helter-skelter start, and we've had many of moments happen right from the midst. This was the chaos that ensued coming through turn 1, where we saw Jaden Kelly get spun, as well as the moment between Dean McDonald and Mikey Porter. Anthony Bartone also taking a wide line and having to take the escape. Later on, Amir Naran crashing, coming through the second Lesmo into the Tech Pro barriers, ending their race at Vimana by get speed. And then we also witnessed the BMW M4 GT3 coming under scrutiny alongside Steve Jans. Unfortunately, that BMW has found himself a little bit lighter with a lack of coverage on the rear end of that car after a collision brought them together. Side by side also very nearly as Lucas Dunner rejoined after cutting the chicane. In came the driver changes, the first of them anyway. We have 2 more left to bring you. Tommaso Mosca and Carl Bennett swapping over, and then the battles ensued once more. This time Mosca finding the outside line against Tom Emson to take the on-track race lead. And then further chaos ensued again with Valentin Pierberg, Dominic Baumann, of course, together fighting for the Pro-Am title, and Baumann hitting the rear left side of that BMW M4, stripping the coverage away from that Michelin tyre on the rear right.
Battle on between Maxi Geerts and Christopher Haase with 59 laps to go, or just under 2 hours now. Yellow flags still showing at turn 9. Interestingly, that can't still be for the Autosport racing car, can it? No. Well, something was down there, wasn't it? As Emson now looks to get around Darren Leong, put a lap on that McLaren. Haase with a much more tighter line into the Alboreto curve in his pursuit of 3rd position. Top 2 in the championship. It's been all about these 2 cars throughout the entire season. Motorpark has fought for the championship every year they've been here in the International GT Open since beginning their GT3 program a few years ago. Their first proper effort in 2023, having been steeped in so much success in single-seater competition, not least in the Euro Formula Open Championship. As we see a replay here, and that is Renger van der Zande getting around Heiko Neumann for 10th position overall. Pro car passing the AM driver. And it looks very close between Haase and Riker as they came out of the first chicane. It's still close as they head into the second one. And I think that Darren Leong might have just done Maxi Geerts a little bit of a favour there, because he feigned to the inside. And Haase's trying to find a way around it, but the McLaren is in the way, and so again the door is shut there for the Audi, but he is nibbling at the heels of the Mercedes factory driver now as they make their way through the Lesmos.
Yeah, the rivalry burning bright for the top end of the championship. Carl Bennett and Tommaso Mosca, their efforts providing them with P2 currently as the provisional standing show. Obviously that can all change in the remaining pit stop and driver changes that we do have, along with the remaining minutes here, as now we take a look back at a replay coming through. Now this is Heiko Neumann again, side by side with the Oregon Team Lamborghini, and that's the 63 of Artem Petrov that makes contact with Heiko Neumann. Heiko Neumann unfortunately getting spun coming through turn 1.
Yeah, so that was one of the key contenders in Pro-Am being pitched around there, and right in front of the Benji Goethe McLaren as well, that's currently 4th in that class. Again, Haase using different lines through the Alboreto curve, this time a wider line in, cuts it tight to the exit, and once again it is the 6.2 litre V8 versus the 5.2 litre V10. Audi will be the only one carrying that engine next year, with Lamborghini moving to their twin-turbo V8 for next year in the Temerario, so enjoy this noise while it lasts. Big dive on the inside once again, and you're going to need bigger tricks than that to try and upset Maxi Geerts, though, I think.
Yeah, I think the way Haase needs to do it, needs to exercise in the corners, really. That has been largely where the pace has been for this Easter Lent Audi, as now we see side by side further up, and just see that bent grille on the front end of Steve Jans' car. That was after the impact that we saw at the very start of the race, leading to the 10-second time penalty. He's ahead currently of the 19 of Robin Rogalski. Of course, Aaron Walker behind the wheel of the Pro-Am Championship contender. Steve Jans doing the opening stint, Rogalski losing out. So therefore, Walker moves his way into P7. Further up, we have Libor Milotta, your Pro-Am leader as it stands. So now Walker in pursuit of Pro-Am lead here now on this current lap.
And remember, because the ISR started with its quick driver, its pro driver, they've got the bronze driver in now, so it's advantage Aaron Walker at the moment. But that number 6 Getsby car is taking a 10-second penalty at the checkered flag, and the gap to their title rival at the moment, a little over 10 seconds. Still a long way to go, of course. We're going to keep an eye on that throughout the course of the race. Maxi Goertz, while he's soaking up this pressure from Christopher Haase, also closing in on Tom Emson as well. So this could very quickly become a 3-car scrap between Ferrari, Mercedes and Audi for second place provisionally, as Tommaso Mosca has now built more than 7 seconds of an advantage over Tom Emson, 7.8 as they came across the timing line.
Yeah, Emson doing a good job to at least hang on to second, but Mosca advancing that 7.8 second gap. Christopher Haase, faster in most laps. The only one he wasn't was in lap 30, where he was just under 3/10 slower than Tom Emson on that occasion. So we now watch them come through out of Curva Grande. Once again, Haase on the tail of Goertz. Just getting towed along, really, for fun right now. Goertz are inside 0.8 of a second now on Emson as they cross the stripe. Might get a little bit closer, though, on the run down through towards the Rogia. This Mercedes certainly does seem to pack a punch in a straight line as they now break down in towards the chicane. Coming out of the second chicane now before they reach Lesmo 1 and Lesmo 2 and another straight at Serralio. It's been a good race so far for Elite Racing, all born out of the great efforts of Tom Leben in the opening stint. He will be back later on. Mosca doing the business currently for AF Corsa. Carl Bennett, of course, will retake over the wheel of that Ferrari 296 as well when the next driver change window comes into play in just over 18 minutes, just under 90 minutes time. Goertz has got past Petrov for 11th place. So there we are. That's 4th place in Pro-Am as it stands, as now we see Mosca, Emson. Of course, Emson 8.2 back, still with Goertz in behind by 0.7 of a second. Haase unable to find the answer against Goertz so far. Just it seems to me that Mercedes packs a hell of a lot of punch in a straight line, Chris.
It certainly does. We've seen earlier in the season the Audi struggle to keep up in a straight line with the Mercedes, even with the tow. And looking at the speed trap, it is still about a kilometre an hour slower, the Audi, than the Mercedes coming down the start-finish straight. So another lap ticked off then, and the gap between Emson and Goertz still around 0.8 of a second, both lapping a 45.6 last time around. And the Audi a couple of tenths slower, in fact, on that previous lap. Change for the lead in Pro-Am with Aaron Walker moving past Libor Milotta. Robin Rogalski followed him through as well, so that's a change for 6th, 7th and 8th overall. There is our race leader, all on his own out there, now nearly 9 seconds to the good. Tommaso Mosca is doing a great job of putting AF Corsa in a prime position to win this race, doing everything they need to do to win the championship. And don't forget, right now, he's doing his best to negate that 10-second handicap that they're taking at the final pit stop.
Yeah, I mean, bear in mind, this is the maximum that they can do at this stage. Obviously, what they have managed to muster is second place as it stands in the provisional standings. We saw that earlier on. Mosca once again applying his trade. Personal best in the first and second sectors on this lap. Already through the course of this race has held the fastest lap of the race. Continues to hold it now, so it's going to grow even more. Of course, we've already seen that team managers have been toing and froing to race control. Also, we've had quite a bit of action. Obviously, Mosca will be hoping that they can keep it very clean and just ensure that they can just move past the traffic that's in front of them. They're about to move up on some now, and we've got a car coming into the pits now.
Yeah, now, who was that? Was that Milos Pavlovic?
Looked like an Audi to me, Chris.
It's Peter Fullin. Yeah. It's the Fullin race Audi. So no major dramas there, but the fourth place car in the AM category coming in very much out of the driver change window, so clearly some problems on that Audi as this is really closing up for second place now. Well, I will say, if it were to finish like this, the 10 points that the AF Corsa would gain over the Motor Park is not enough to usurp the gap.
No, not just yet. Car 62 given a 10-second time penalty for that pit window infringement. We mentioned it, that they wouldn't have enough time to get to the pit lane, and indeed, they have been punished for it. 10 seconds, Chris.
Yeah, there's the surprise. So they'll take that at the end of the race. Where did they end up in the end? Leonardo Colavita currently in 16th position overall. So Tom Empson doing a cracking job of soaking up this pressure from two, well, legends of GT3 racing. And a factory driver from Mercedes, a former factory driver from Audi. Of course, that program no longer exists, although we do expect Audis to remain in competition for the short-term future, at the very least. So even if Lamborghini's getting rid of their V10 engine, we will still get to enjoy it. It's in the Audi, which I'm sure many of you listening at home or any of you who come to our races in person are going to be very grateful for. Into the Alboreto curve, and Haase still looking for any which way he can past this Motorpark Mercedes. He's shy of throwing a lasso around it and hauling it behind him. He's got a bit of a double slipstream now as they make their way down the start and finish straight. I'm sure Haas has got more pace in hand, but is he able to use it at the moment tucked up behind that Mercedes?
Well, I think largely it's definitely the corners where Haas is exercising the speed and punctuality of that Audi R8. Let's take a look at this now, side by side between the two AM Championship contenders. Of course, now Marco Polcini behind the McLaren 720S, and it moves through past the 21. And obviously in this exchange, Michele Rugolo losing out, but obviously I don't think Rugolo can really contest too much about that, because of course he went off track.
Had to give that back, didn't he? But it's getting argy-bargy between the top two in the AM Championship. So I love this. It's battles all the way down the field. So it is still Marco Polcini who leads Michele Rugolo there. And only half a second separating them. Bit more gravel being kicked up there. Any of the marshals who've been standing at that particular post, I think they might want to go and get their lungs checked with the amount of dust they'll have breathed in throughout this race weekend from a multitude of drivers dipping their wheels through there, not just in this championship, but in the GT Cup and Euroformula that supported us this weekend, along with a few others.
Maybe a slight arm strain as well with the use of the broom, I think, at the same time.
Yes, I think as well. Oh, especially at Ascari. My goodness me, after the Clio race yesterday. Bit of tyre squealing in front of these guys. And they've got the Olymp Ferrari in front of them on the road, which is Christian Korzanowski driving that car. But all is well aboard, or ahead of these guys anyway. The twin-turbo V6 with a good answer to the naturally aspirated V8, which Mercedes will be changing, we anticipate, when they finally introduce their new car. Not sure when that's going to happen just yet. There's rumours of 2027, rumours of 2028, because this AMG has been in service for an awfully long time now, when you consider that this is the third year of the Ferrari 296, and they're bringing out an Evo package for it next year. Same can be said for the Porsche, which has got a new version of the GT3 and the Cup car for next year. And we hope to see the new version of the GT3 car, at the very least. The Cup car, I think, is exclusively for Porsche Super Cup and Carrera Cup Germany, at the very least. Here is James Kell running in a very lonely 5th position at the moment. Remember back to a year ago, the inspired decision for James Kell to start on the wet tyres and drove around everyone like they were standing still. It was a monumental day for the Greystone team as they took their first ever overall victory in this championship.
Yeah, they were on their own on that occasion, but it was in largely a different position on that occasion. Obviously, this hasn't really ended that way this time. Qualifying didn't quite go to plan for James Kell and Dean McDonald, and obviously the start of the race was tough at the same time. There's our current Pro-Am leader, Aaron Walker, flying through the Ascari chicane as well, currently nursing a gap of 3.1 ahead of Alex Fontana, with Rogalski currently operating P8 in between two Pro-Am contenders, Milotta and Fontana. Dominic Baumann on the move as well, past Petrov. Artem Petrov now down into 13th, Baumann up into 12th as we now rejoin the action in a battle over P2. Goetze trying to get close to the back of Emson, with Haase still in between. This trio fighting for the championship, much like Tommaso Mosca is, but he is 12.6 seconds now up the road. It keeps on lumping in the times. His last lap was a 1:44.864 Tommaso Mosca, which isn't too far away, approximately 3/10 from their fastest lap of the race. Here comes Goetz now. A look to the inside as they now rush down through towards the Roger. Emson with more than enough in hand to protect the place, but early warnings, early shots fired here from Goetz as he looks to move into second here this time, and in process, keep Haase at bay.
5-second penalty for the Petrov Simonazzi Lamborghini, which I'm sure is due to the incident we saw earlier. But what an extraordinary drive from this youngster, the 23-year-old Briton, coming out of the GT4 Championship last year, and in his first season of competition in these cars, holding off drivers with far more experience and far more accolades to their names, brilliantly hanging on to this second place at the moment.
Yeah, obviously confirmation on your screens, folks, as we have already mentioned. Artem Petrov receiving the 5-second time penalty after the contact with the 65 of Heiko Neumann, as they now come down in towards the final corner at Alboreto. Emson 13.2. Now the gap continues to grow between the two Ferraris at the top of the order. Goetz, though, looking to stick a Mercedes in between them. Still riding on that rear spoiler on that Ferrari 296. Can it fend off the approach from Goetz's Mercedes-AMG GT3, who's also getting a tow at the same time? A look down the inside. Haase just watching it all unfold in the midst of the action as well. Obviously, the move's not going to be made just yet. The question is, how's your bottle, young Tom Emson? They've had a fabulous season of the Elite Motorsport Ferrari outfits in their first season of GT3 racing, and contending against some of the most experienced drivers on the grid, much like Maxi Goetz, also Christopher Haase, who's been there and done it as a GT Masters champion. You name it, he has done it. Goetz very much alike as well, who's also been scheduling a British GT campaign with 2Cs Motorsport, who also joined us earlier on this season at the same time. And Goetz committed here to the International GT Open in supporting Revesz in his own title hopes.
Narrowly missed out on that British GT title, didn't he? And I'm sure he won't want the same thing to happen here this weekend. Tommaso Mosca at the moment, if we were to serve the handicaps now, would still come out ahead of these guys, which is absolutely fantastic effort. But of course, we've got one more driver change before we think about that as well. Change for third position in Pro-Am with Benji Goethe in the Garage 59 McLaren, moving ahead of Libor Milotta. Was our erstwhile leader in that category. And it's Alex Fontana who's now moved up to second in that class with the Tsunami Racing team. As a look at our race leader, Tommaso Mosca, making his way through the Rettifilo chicane, as once again the Audi looks very quick through this Alboreto curve, but the Mercedes tends to close up on the Ferrari a little bit more when they get into the first chicane again. So let's see, these guys are doing 45s and 46s at the moment, while Mosca's doing 44s. Brilliant pace up at the front of the field, and setting up a grand position for Carl Bennett to take over in, well, about 10 minutes time. Driver change window opens again in 7 minutes. Any of these three are going to try and do something different on the strategy, because it seems like Goetz is stuck behind Emson and Haase is stuck behind Goetz.
Well, and Mosca at the moment putting all the beneficiaries in to negate the 10-second handicap as well that they're going to be later putting into play, because it will, if they go ahead and obviously to the very millisecond of serving that 10-second handicap, it will leave them approximately 5 seconds clear of Tom Emson in behind. Obviously, there's still a long way to go, folks, but they're doing all the right things right now, AF Corsa, in terms of Tommaso Mosca and Carl Bennett in their pursuit for the championship. They'll need a few things, though, to fall into place as we ride on board with Dominic Baumann.
Change for the lead in AM with the AF Corsa number 21 of Michele Rugolo moving past Marco Porcini. That's critical for the championship, but still some time to go. And yes, this is Renger van der Zande now on the back of Libor Milotta, so the bronze driver ahead of them. And it is Dominic Baumann who's fighting that Audi 4 position. So there goes Renger van der Zande into the Lesmo. Is that going to open up the door for Baumann, one of the Pro-Am Championship contenders? Yes, it is just about. He's drawn alongside the Audi and into Lesmo 2 on the inside. And that is 4th position now in class for Dominic Baumann, but still some work to do if he wants to take the fight to the championship leading car from Get Speed.
Yeah, still quite a ways down the road away from Aaron Walker, who's having a perfect race so far. Though remember, the 10 seconds must be served later on. If Baumann can get in within enough window and they can stay there, then by and large, their championship win might yet not even happen on track. It could be something that happens post-race with the application of 10 seconds. As we now watch as the drivers make their way through towards the final corner, we are now remaining with 99.5 minutes here in this race, just over an hour. Very soon it'll be an hour and a half.
George, are we legally required at the end of the race to call a champion and then say pending post-race scrutineering, pending penalties, pending protests, anything like that? We'll tick them all off. We've got the lawyers present. Libor Milotta again coming under pressure, this time from Artem Petrov, and he's run deep into the chicane. Hasn't quite opened up the door just yet. It's Ralph Aron in the 82 Mercedes behind them, the green machine, and then Carol Bash in that Olymp Audi. That really hasn't been the Pro-Am campaign we expected from Carol Bash and Marcin Jedlinski, previous champions, and fighting for the title over the last couple of years, but haven't really shown their hand in that championship. In fact, have they even won a race this year? No, they haven't. Only one podium, which was at the Spa 500, which is not what you'd expect at all. Dominic Baumann taking the fight to the IMSA champion and pulling that same move again, this time at Lesmo 2. And that is a change for 10th position overall, with Baumann clearing that car. And yes, it would be Aaron Walker and Steve Yance who take the Pro-Am title if it were to finish like this. But the time penalty, so Aaron Walker 34 behind the leader, and yeah, he's got 15 seconds now over Dominic Baumann, so it would very much be in their favour. This time it's the Audi in 4th position that's kicking up the gravel out of Lesmo 2.
Yeah, it's definitely Haas trying to utilise everything behind the Audi R8 LMS. This is the move from Dominic Baumann alongside Renger van der Zande coming through the second Lesmo and ultimately moving past the car shared with Anthony Bartone. Now Baumann looks to pursue onwards. Now starting to break away from Renger van der Zande here at Monza now. He's inside the top 10 overall is Dominic Baumann, but Pro-Am P4 as it stands too as they come through the Rettifilio chicane. A little bit of work to do to close up onto the tail of Benji Goethe as Artem Petrov comes in close quarter with Ralph Aron. We're back with the leading, or part of the leading trio. Of course, Mosca still leading at the moment. 16.5 seconds out clear of Tom Empson. He has put in a sterling stint here, Tommaso Mosca. This has been truly phenomenal. This could be the decisive moment in what could lead to them taking a race victory. And you never know, depending on what happens with this three, or these three that currently fly through Ascari, it could lead to them taking the title.
They need a little more, though, don't they? Because even if Rivets and Guts were to finish at the back of this queue, it would still be the Motorpark car that just about takes it by a couple of points. So they need an extra intervention on that car. Heiko Neumann, who's had an adventurous race and having his second adventure against the AM class leader. Now, I think that bit of bodywork came off of the Mercedes rather than the Ferrari, so Rugolo should get away with that. But this looks as close as it's ever been between Gertz and Empson now, with 46 laps remaining, and Gertz again feigning to the inside, but not throwing Empson off.
Lots of confidence there behind that Elite Motorsport Ferrari, determined to withstand the pressure that Goethe is mounting. And, you know, this is no small feat here from Tom Empson. A great defensive drive. They're also fighting for the title at Elite Racing Ferrari, albeit that they are rank outsiders in that fray. but still part of the party, as now we see Gertz having another look coming down in towards the Rogier. Once again, Haase watching it all unfold. 17.6 seconds, the gap continues to mount, and Mosca hasn't missed a beat, still setting 144s, only 3/10 off from his fastest lap. He is on a mountainous charge. Everyone else further down embracing the 145s. Mosca's on a different planet.
He's been so dang consistent as Mosca. He's at an elite level right now, pardon the pun. But
wrong car.
No, I know. The gold-rated driver is doing an absolutely sterling job out there. I mean, he does have a little bit more experience than, say, Tom Empson in a car like this, having raced the 296 last year in Italian GT and its predecessor,
and obviously
the year
Monza,
before that.
A staple of the Italian GT Championship.
Yeah, will know the circuit very well, of course, and knows the team as well. AF Corsa has not won the Drivers' Championship since 2018 when they ran the Lusick Racing outfit.
It's Mikkel Mack that season.
It was Mikkel Mack, and that feels like not that long ago, but 7 years in the making. And of course, Motorpark has never won a GT3 title, whereas East Talent are going for their 3rd title here in as many years. The team's title in their first year in 2023, the Drivers' Championship last year, trying to add to that in 2025 as well. So much at stake here for these guys.
AF Corsa had some good history. I mean, obviously, you allude back to the Lusick Racing car that obviously part of AF Corsa, Mikkel Mack, and obviously even prior to that, 2012, Gian Maria Bruni and Federico Leo back in 2012. The first one, though, was all the way back in 2010. Alvaro Barber and Pierre Caffer going on to taking the title that campaign. And this could be, I mean, if things go their way, overall title number 3 for AF Corsa at their home circuit.
Driver change window is now open. Let's keep an eye on Gertz and Haase and see if either of them take the dive into the pits early and see if they can get some sort of undercut on Tom Empson, if they can find some free air with a fresh set of Michelin rubber as well, because they have spent pretty much this entire stint looking at the back of the Ferrari. No further investigation between the Marco Pulcini McLaren and the Santalok Audi. I don't think we saw that one. Here is Heiko Neumann in pit lane, handing back over to his pro driver, Lucas Dunner. He's about to do his final laps of the season. And the BMW still with its cheeks missing. Its derriere, so to speak. And definitely the damage is a lot worse on the right-hand side, isn't it? Because that wheel is actually covered.
I mean, it kind of stripped off some of that rear side as well, and it looks like, it looks like Tom Leben is going to be coming in very early into the driver change. I think smart decision, I think, from Elite, really. Takes the pressure a little bit out of the hands of Tom Empson, who has done a brilliant job to keep Gertz at bay, as well as Haase. And Leben, who initially was the fastest man out on track, will now rejoin and look to undo the work that Tommaso Mosca has done.
Also into the pits has come James Kell to hand back over to Dean McDonald, and Rodrigo Testa taking over the number 19 Lamborghini again. Libor Milotta as well in the ISR Audi, handing back over to Felipe Salicada, who led that classification in the early stages of the race.
Mosca is now responding, personal best in the first sector again. He's looking to dish out some big lap times, bigger than what he's already pulled together. Libor Milotta Salicada, you can see the driver change underway now for ISR Audi. Vincent Abril and Jim Pla currently cemented further down as well. They'll be jumping in. Babini now up into 15th place as a result of this driver change period. There is Maxi Gertz, still operating in second with Haase still for company, but no longer are they shackled with the Elite Motorsport Ferrari in front of them. It's a personal best in the middle sector as a response here from Maxi Gertz, who now looks to try and levy himself a little bit closer to Tommaso Mosca. There's a huge amount of work for them to do because it's 19.8 seconds, and out comes Leben, and all of a sudden meets Mosca straight away on the run in towards turn 1. Yeah. Another great stop for Elite.
Yeah, he's a lap down to Tommaso Mosca. If there were to be a safety car now, that would royally screw them over, wouldn't it? Haas is in. Haas is in. He's trying to get the undercut there on the Motorpark Mercedes, so he's going to hand over, put some faith here in Simon Riker, who did an absolutely sterling job in Q1 yesterday, second fastest it was, that really sowed the seeds for what was initially pole position for this Austrian outfit.
Yeah, obviously the big question mark surrounding the Moscow situation is obviously the work they put in. Obviously they are obviously a lap on at the moment ahead of Elite as it stands, but remember we do have the handicaps coming into play ahead of our third change. But they put in a lot of work, did Moscow, to try and alleviate that issue. They've now almost applied 10 seconds upon the 10 seconds, and in fact they have. It's now 20.1 between Moscow and Gertz right now, and it was a personal best from Maxi Gertz. Even then it wasn't fast enough to challenge Moscow. Gertz's personal best was a 1:45.234, and we're seeing 1:44s continuously from Moscow. That Ferrari's on form.
So it is Dean McDonald just in front there of Maxi Gertz, having just come out of the pit lane. Rijkaard's probably going to come out in the thick of the action here, I'd have thought, just based on where he is at the moment. But we'll wait to see him emerge from the pit lane. Speak of the devil, I can just see him going out there now. So actually, should be a relatively clear air, I'd have thought. It will be a lap down to the race leader, but he is lapping quicker. Is he going to come out ahead of Tom Leben, though? Yes, he is. That's a net change for second place. So East Talent have managed to jump that elite Ferrari. That could be critical.
And that could be good news for Gertz as well, because obviously the response, obviously seeing that East Talent have now managed to break ahead of the Elite Racing Ferrari. It might be a good time for Gertz to post maybe a few laps and make the changes. Now there's another look this time from Tom Leben, obviously keen to get past Rijkaard because he needs that clean air, Chris.
Certainly does, but yeah, so the question is now, where is Levente Reves going to emerge when he retakes over the number 11 Motor Park Mercedes? That's the car that East Talent was really trying to get around, I think. Now, Tom Leben, we know, has an awful lot of speed, a pole sitter back in Budapest, and he's going to pile the pressure on Simon Rijkaard as the young Austrian finds his feet in this stint. Conditions a little bit different to when we started, with the track temperature actually falling ever so slightly. He's defending into Ascari. In comes Renke van der Zande to hand back over to Anthony Bartone, and Marcello Ramirez also getting aboard the sister number 82 car as well. Francesco Simonazzi handing back over to Artem Petrov.
Swapping around, I think it's Artem Petrov who's coming in, and in goes Simonazzi, and will take the wheel of the Lamborghini Huracan GT3.
Yeah, you're right.
As we now watch as once again Rijkaard under pressure from Tom Leben. Now could be the time for the Ferrari to open up the power down the long straight. And of course an Italian circuit for this Italian car, looking to flex its muscles and move past Simon Rijkaard. Here comes Tom Leben, who put in a sterling effort in the opening stint of the race. Now largely it's been all about Tommaso Mosca. Rijkaard, after a decent qualifying performance, looking to keep Leben in behind, and somehow, someway has done so after Leben just cut the curb there, and that's cost him a huge amount of time. And now off the back of Rijkaard, flashing his lights in frustration as Mosca levies an immense flying lap, a 1:44.2, and that is 0.3 quicker than his previous fastest lap.
I think that's a new lap record, George.
That is a stunning lap. But that was a whole second faster than Maxi Gertz's personal best in the last lap as well.
That's a stunning effort from Tommaso Mosca. Yeah, if my info's correct, that does beat Alessandro Pierguidi's lap record set here last year. So, a cracking effort there from Mosca, and building the gap beautifully. Now, can Leben levy something here over Simon Rijkaard and retake that second place, that net second place that we think it's going to be, depending on where Reves emerges in all of this? Gertz is still lapping out there in relatively clear air, and not squabbling like these guys are, which is going to be doing him a few favours. Here comes Leben again, feigning to the inside. He's got an awful lot of speed in that Ferrari, evidently. Lines it up now, out of the Alboreto curve, and opens up the taps on the twin-turbo V6 engine, soaking up the slipstream of the Audi. And what's Rijkaard going to do with this? He was able to successfully keep Leben at bay a lap ago, but he's left the door open, and here comes Tom Leben on the inside, and yes, he does retake that position.
Yeah, great move from Leben. Capitalising this time around, no mistakes. Of course, last time out was unfortunately unlucky as Louis Michael Dorbecker and Alfredo Hernandez swap over. Hernandez now taking the wheel of the BDR Grupo Prom Mercedes-AMG GT3s, and they fly around Curva Grande again. Is now Simon Riker going to return the serve against Tom Leben. Very much up close and personal with the elite racing Ferrari. Leben confirmed 14th now overall on track. Goetze really taking real advantage of this situation. Keeps on ploughing in. He's just registered a 1:44 for the first time in this race as well. That last lap a personal best for Maxi Goetz, and that's very much helping him as both Leben and Riker exchange with 1:47s. And you're talking 2 seconds, 3 seconds difference.
That's extraordinary pace up at the front of the field, isn't it? And of course, Dean McDonald a lap down there on the leaders.
May as well leave Goetz out at the moment. Go as long as they can.
For sure, yeah. It's another 4.5 minutes on the window. Who hasn't come in yet? Fontana, Walker, Goethe, Baumann, Bash, Colavita, Abril. The ones you'd expect to stay out there. Top two in AM as well. Johannes Zelger has just got back aboard the 79 Tsunami Racing Team car, or is doing so now. Fabio Babini, who will be racing in the GT Cup Europe Championship just after this. And in comes Tommaso Mosca. 4 minutes left on the driver change window, and Cole Bennett getting back aboard. Bravo, Tommaso. That was a monster stint.
I think that's got to be one of the stints of the season, I think, in all honesty. I mean, what a drive from...
I thought that was his one in Red Bull Ring when he overcame their 20-second handicap and last lap overtake. If you haven't watched back that Red Bull Ring race, I would highly recommend you do. Maxi Goetz now vacating the number 11 Motorpark Mercedes at the same time. And Levente Reves, the young Hungarian, getting back aboard. His final laps of the 2025 season coming up.
Yeah, and obviously if he returns in relatively the same place as he would be from a net standpoint, then the title will be very much making its way over to Levente Reves. As now Christian Korzanowski, Stanislav Jedlinski also make their swap as part of the AM class in the number 5 Olymp Racing Ferrari. There is Leben, who's now grown the gap to Simon Riker as they charge down the Seraglio straights this time around. And we'll see how vast this gap is going to be now between Tom Leben and now, of course, the man behind the wheel, Levente Reves.
Well, Bennett's going to have quite an advantage here, I'd have thought.
Oh, of course. I mean, it was 20 seconds and more coming into the pit, so surely he's going to be in good health.
But the question is, where is Reves in relation to the Ferrari and the Audi we've been watching squabble over second place, making his way towards the pit lane exit now as the Ferrari and the Audi of Leben and Haase are coming around the Curva Alboreto and building up speed onto the start and finish straight. And I think Goetz is going to emerge in second place here, a net second place.
Yeah, and with a reasonable margin as well to nurture to remain ahead of the elite racing Ferrari. Christian Korzanowski, of course, also making his way out as well, if I'm not mistaken. No, Stanislav Jedlinski, I do apologise, taking over. The 33 Greystone GT McLaren also making its way down through towards turn 1 at the same time. More and more pit stops underway. This is the AM Championship contender. Marco Polcini, of course, in the other one, was signed it alongside Mark Samsung for the Garage 59 crew, but the swap underway with Michele Rugolo now bailing out for Gino Forgione. As now we watch as Leben makes his way through the first Lesbo, and by and large 3.5 seconds separate he and Reves as it stands.
Pit stop for SBS as well, with Dominic Baumann handing back over to Valentin Pierberg. Remember, that's another of our Prime Championship contenders, their title rivals in pit lane as well, handing back over to Steve Yan. So both their bronze drivers getting back aboard at the moment. And so far, it has been in the favour of this number 6 Get Speed car that has had the advantage, despite the fact that it will take a 10-second penalty at the end of the race for causing that collision with Jaden Kelly at the very start of the race.
I think when we last checked, there was about 15 seconds, so they would have had about 5 spare, but that was a long time ago. Obviously, we'll wait and see as to how it's going to differ when they re-enter back out onto the circuit. There's Carl Bennett.
Now, George, I hate to say that lightning is striking twice here, but Alex Fontana is cutting this very, very fine for the driver change window. 45 seconds left on the clock, and he's making his way towards Ascari. That is going to be nip and tuck.
Oh,
we haven't seen this all season long, and somehow we're going to see it twice in one race. Confirmation on your screen. Maxi Gertz there. No, Levente Reves now, sorry. In a net second place, ahead of Tom Leben, ahead of Simon Riker. So that is a change from the end of that last stint. I think Alex Fontana is just going to make it in time. He's coming around the Alboreto curve now, and there's 14 seconds left on the clock. He's got to get it slowed down to the pit lane speed limit, of course, and actually trip the beam. Which he should do so now. Yes, he has. Wow, made that with about 3 or 4 seconds to spare. Well timed there, Tsunami Racing Team.
Yeah, I'm sure there was a sense of urgency there in the cockpit on part of Alex Fontana, but if you need speed behind the wheel, he's the man you call. He's had many sensational GT Open races that we, of course, have witnessed. Has been partnered with Hash, mainly at Car Collection.
Well, when you've got Alex Fontana at the wheel, you squeeze all the Alex Fontana you can get out of it.
Well, we've had the ability to watch some stunning qualifying sessions that have been laid down by Fontana in the past.
Oh,
and
yes.
If you need someone to execute over one lap, he's the man you call, as we now watch as our current net race leader, of course, Carl Bennett, who is somewhat ahead of Levente Reves by 20.3 seconds as it stands. So the good work laid down by Tommaso Mosca certainly fueling a potential huge result here for the AF Corsa team, but there is still a lengthy portion until our next driver change window. It's going to be coming up much later, folks.
Oh, Carl Bennett, the race leader, getting into the first chicane very, very deep. They can ill afford those kind of moments.
Well, he takes the overall race lead anyway, because Bashar Mardini stepping in play now for Fontana. Therefore, due to that pit stop, Bennett now takes the overall race lead back. Reves into second. Leben will follow suit into third as well. We'll have a look at the moments again, just overextending coming in towards turn one. Had to recover, therefore cutting the curb. No question, losing momentum. It's going to allow Reves to get a little bit closer anyway.
Yeah, well, the gap's around 20 seconds.
Only a little bit closer.
But
19.3 now.
But this is critical because this next pit stop is the one where the handicaps come into play. So remember,
they need 10 seconds.
This car is taking 10 seconds of handicap because of their victory last time out in Barcelona. And so if Levente Reves gets to within 10 seconds of Carl Bennett, in theory, the Motorsport car should come out ahead after this final stop.
Reves needs... Bennett needs to hold on to 8.4 seconds at this point until he needs to hold on to those 8 seconds right through until the next driver change period. So it's all on Reves to try and penetrate into that gap because he is going to have the advantage when the next pit stop rolls around, and it will be Maxi Gertz taking over as well behind the wheel as now we await the drivers to fly around the final corner. The 77 of the BDR Grupo Prom and making its way around the final corner of Alfredo Hernandez down in 26th place. Being joined also by some Tsunami colouring as well. They brought 2 varieties of Porsche here this weekend. The 79, obviously, Johannes Zelga getting past a lapped car, essentially. Alfredo Hernandez, obviously, considerably further down, but manages to get past in a nice, clean manner, but has also caught up the race leader. Now, this is the last thing that Carl Bennett needs.
He's ducking and diving, flashing the lights as well. Patience, Carl. It's not about not losing time in traffic. You are going to lose time. It's about not losing as much time as you have to. But yeah, down on the inside into the De La Rocha chicane. We'll get that move done. There's Antal Zigo as well in the Racing Trevor BMW. Oh, no, sorry, it's Max Hesse now, isn't it? Because he started the car. So Hesse is coming through. I imagine he's going to disrupt the race leader a little bit as well, because Max is certainly one of the fastest drivers in the field in that Pro-Am car. So that could just disturb the race leader ever so slightly. And already on this lap, look, he's hemorrhaging lap time. Half a second, 0.6 of a second lost in the first sector of this lap to Levente Reves. But now he's got some clean air in front of him. In fact, only one car for about half a lap. So should be relatively easy going now for Carl Bennett.
I mean, he managed to clear those in reasonably quick succession in the first 2 sectors. So by and large, you know, bear in mind, it's not just him who's going to have to deal with the lap traffic, as now Antal Zygo moves through and past, because Revesh is going to catch up with this bunch too. So
he better hope that he loses as much time, because he lost a second in the middle sector alone, did Carl Bennett to Levente Reves.
Absolutely. So it's on Reves really now. He's got to try and respond, and when he does meet the lap traffic, needs to dispatch them just as quickly, if not quicker, than Carl Bennett.
Bennett leading the way, the gap down to 16.6 seconds now as they go over the timing line. I'll stretch that to 15.9 now, but the gap closing as Carl Bennett makes his way through the traffic. And Bashar Mardini has emerged in the lead of the Pro-Am standings, actually. So that extra lap there that they managed to get out of Alex Fontana might have made all the difference. It's 1.1 seconds ahead of Steve Jans. So that is a great effort there from the Tsunami Racing team. Bashar Mardini, the Q8 driver, and reunited with Alex Fontana. They were teammates in this championship at Car Collection last year.
As it stands as well, Chris, at the moment, as we now see, of course, Levente Reves peeling through some extra traffic. Laurent de Meus now the next candidate. Just looking at the Pro-Am battle, and as it stands, I think Pierberg has broken into that 10-second gap, which is largely good news, because remember, Jans has got that 10-second time penalty that's going to come into play. I actually calculated it at just around about 8 seconds now between them.
Yes, that has really come down, hasn't it? So that could be critical as well, with Valentin Pierberg in 4th position in that category at the moment. I'll tell you what else as well. Mark Sampson's retaken the lead in the AM category as well, ahead of Gino Forgione. But the problem that Mark's got is that because it's a 6-point deficit he's got, there's not enough cars, really, to try and disrupt the AF Corsa. We've kind of lost one realistic already in the form of the full-in-race Audi, because that came into pit lane quite a long time ago. So there's only 4 cars left in there. Darren Kell's been around the road. Stanislav Jedlinski aboard the Olymp Ferrari as well. So it's kind of a straight fight between Mark Sampson and
Reves.
Now he's taking a trip across the runoff area at turn 1. What was that about?
Goodness me. And it's opened up a window of opportunity now for Tom Leben. Now we're going to see the 2 young drivers who may well know each other somewhat, but both of them coming in as former single-seater racing drivers themselves. Of course, Leben having a little bit more time in GT cars than Levente Reves, after spending time in GT4 alongside Josh Rattican in pursuit of the GT4 European Championship title, and went on to win it as well. Reves looking to win his first GT3 crown, and here in the International GT Open, but he can't afford moments like that when you've got especially when you've got a championship at stake. Leben getting ever closer and opening up the throttle again, coming out of the second Lesmo. Now we could see the Mercedes and the Ferrari do battle. Of course, we saw earlier on Gertz trying to get past Tom Emson. Well, this time the hunter has become the hunted, and it will now be Leben all over the tail of Levente Reves.
That's given Bennett a little bit of reprieve as well, because he lost time there, and on that previous lap as well, actually. About 1.3 seconds. The thing is, they were making their way through the traffic as well. So it'll be Bennett and Tomoska that move up to 2nd in the championship ahead of Riker and Haase, but it would not be enough to usurp Levente Reves at the head of the standings. And a little swing there in the points with Tom Leben moving past Levente Reves would not put it in their favour either.
It'll be a little closer, obviously, now if the Elite Racing Ferrari gets past Levente Reves, because that'll be Reves dropping 2 points by and large, and therefore...
Well, 4 points.
Well, 4 points, yeah. No, that's true, because it's double points. Yes, of course. I keep thinking we're on the normal point system, but of course we're not. We're on the double point system here for the 500. So therefore, it will spring that gap reasonably close together. They'll still need a little bit of help, though, to get something to happen. As I work it out, it'll mean that they're 6 points adrift without the drop scores. So
that's with the drop scores.
Oh, well, of course, with the drop scores then. So, yeah, 6 points would be between them. Should the Elite Racing Ferrari make this move on Reves.
They need a little bit more, don't they, to the AF Corsa squad. Think back to last year when their championship contending car from Motor Park was parked at the side of the road on the final lap, having run out of fuel. That very much spelled the end to a very difficult championship for them. Side by side for position in Pro-Am, with Jedlinski and Salicada battling over 5th position, and that was Salicada usurping the Olymp Audi. The two Audis going toe-to-toe, side by side for second nearly. Thought for a moment there Tom Lebon had an advantage. Perhaps Maxi Goetz or Levente Reves was caught up behind the BDR Grupo Prom Mercedes through the Ascari chicane, but Tom Lebon, as close as he has been in this stint, and we know how quick that Ferrari has been in a straight line, and so can he utilize the power in that twin-turbo V6 engine to usurp Levente Reves? No, he can't. The Mercedes working very well in a straight line here. Yeah,
Lebon was trying it though, because he took a wider line coming through Curva Alboreto to give him more momentum heading down the long straight. Unfortunately, it did not quite work out, because that Mercedes grunt has bore the brunt of the challenges that have been made elsewhere on circuit all race long, namely from Christopher Haase when Maxi Goetz was behind the wheel, and didn't he just do it in style? As we now watch as Lebon looks to close up once more. The blue flag just being waved by the marshal. I think it's already been cleared, sir, as we now see the two cars in front now make their way through. First Lesmo about to come up. Steve Jans now comes into the pits. That's a bit early.
That is way too early. That is dramas for the Pro-Am Championship leader. Steve Jans pulling that car into pit lane, 20 minutes away from the driver change window. So some sort of problem there.
They're getting up on the jacks, Chris. It's on the jacks. What's the problem? Of course, it has.
Nothing visibly all that wrong with it, but
they're mounting something on the front of the car.
That looks like game over.
In which would grant Pierberg a second International GT Open Championship title and Baumann a first one.
Extraordinary. I can't believe nothing seemingly visible on the outside of the car, but clearly something internally not working on that Get Speed number 6 machine.
They're hard at work at it.
What's going on here? There's stickers being replaced? That can't be the cause of it. Something on the front end of that Get Speed Mercedes is not working for them. And, well, suddenly, Valentin Pierberg and Dominic Baumann and the SBS crew are in a prime position here, with Pierberg currently running 3rd position in his class and staring at the back of Alexander West as well.
Now
Jans is going back out.
I just want to say, Chris, there was the team manager for cars 6 and 5 for us to report to race control immediately around about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, but what could that have been about?
Was there loose debris on the car or something that they had to stick down?
They would have been given a mechanical flag. It didn't even look any different, did it, on the front? I'll try and spot it when it comes out onto the track, but this car is now going to be a lap ahead of its championship rival.
Huge opportunity now for Pierberg to lay claim to that 2nd championship. Obviously a winner prior inside the International GT Open. And I must say, it's going to bring back warm memories of 2018 alongside Tom Onslow Cole for SPS Automotive Performance. The last time, in fact, they lifted the Pro-Am title was with Pierberg, and they're set to do it again if they can carry on for the remaining 67 minutes in this race. 1 hour and 7 until we hit the checkered flag. Levente Reves going full defensive. Lebon starting to curtail a little closer to his rear end. So Reves has got to go and once again put his best defensive helmet on. Reves, current championship leader, and many cars looking to take shots at him in a bid to land a big blow to his championship. Reves taking a nice wide line coming through Curva Alboreto. This might well be enough to withstand the pressure, but Lebon trying to force any amount of momentum possible to put his position in P2 up for question. 19.1 seconds away from Bennett as well. It looks like Reves has got enough room in behind him now just to keep that Ferrari at bay, and indeed he does as they break down in towards turn 1. Reves doing enough, needs to try and place himself closer to Bennett. The last lap, Bennett, in fact, a 1:45.6 was faster than Reves by 0.3 of a second, and Lebon continues to get a little bit closer.
So it's just over 1 hour remaining, and my goodness me, it's all three of the championships are really keeping us on our toes.
Carl Bennett's doing a stunning job on this
He is.
so
He's
far.
still pulling the gap.
If anything, he's actually grown it again, because it was marching down towards 17 seconds earlier on. His last lap was a 1:45.6. He was 3/10 quicker than Revesz, and by extension Tom Leben over that last lap. So he still continues the great work that Tommaso Mosca put in on his previous stint.
Well, this would definitely put AF Corsa in a great position to win this 500-kilometre race, doing everything they need to do to try and win the championship. They need a little bit more of a helping hand, though, from their title rivals, as, again, Leben follows in the wheel tracks of Revesz through Ascari. Simon Riker now 8.1 seconds back from this battle for second place. And remember, they need to finish ahead of this number 11 Motor Park Mercedes in order to have any hope of the title.
We're now in a position where we're basically, in the remaining time, now in what would usually be classed as a typical length of time for an International GT Open race. Of course, the reminder of the three category colours, folks. Pro all in red, blue for the Pro-Am, and green for the Am classes. Now Revesz looks to get past the lap traffic. The 79 Porsche gets squeezed over onto the grass. Barely enough room for the two of them at that portion, and Revesz leaving it a little bit late coming through towards turn one. This might hold perhaps some significance here. There's the confirmation of the Pro-Am points as it stands. Bowen and Pierberg taking the lead of the championship and will be crowned champions at this point, and it looks like almost a foregone conclusion that's going to be the case, certainly considering the amount of time that Steve Jans and Aaron Walker, Jans behind the wheel, spent time in the pit lane, and then on top of that, the 10 seconds they've then got to serve as well. It's definitely in the hands of Bowen and Pierberg now as we come into the final hour very soon.
It would take a
miracle,
like a retirement basically now for SPS to lose this. So Pierberg and Baumann have just got to keep it on the island, and they'll be bringing home the Pro-Am championship as it stands. What drama in this final race of the season. We knew it was going to be full of it. A couple of investigations going on. The 65 from Team Motor Park is under investigation for refueling with the engine on during both of its pit stops. Now that is a big no-no.
Marco Neumann's car in Lucas Dunner, isn't it? Obviously...
currently 7th in Pro-Am.
Yeah, well, they might lose a little bit more if they get penalised for this investigation.
Which they will do, because
of course.
that is safety regulations
both
being
stops
breached
as
there.
well.
Yeah.
Wow.
Usually what they have a system where the engine will cut below a certain speed to sort of save a little bit of time in the pit stops.
That's why generally we see them trying to get the cars restarted when they are at the mercy of a spin or something like that. But as we now watch as Laventia Revesz comes down in towards turn one, still being pursued by Tom Leben. Positions have not changed. Simonazzi, though, has got past Pierberg. And, of course, part of the pro contingent, the 63. As now Leben once again rides on the tail of Laventia Revesz. 2/10 of a second it was when they crossed the stripe to begin this next lap. We've got 28 to go, or the hour and 2 remaining until we hit the checkered flag. Whichever comes first, as now we witness the AF Corsa race leader. The gap extended now to 20 seconds flat. Tommaso Mosca watching on with bated breath as Bennett looks to bring home what would be yet again a second time where they've gone 2 races consecutive with race wins. It could be race win number 4 just around the corner.
I think for Tommaso Mosca, his third... no, excuse me, I'm talking nonsense. For Tommaso Mosca would just be another great result and a 4th victory of the season alongside Carl Bennett. It's looking very good as the gap grows once again to over 21 seconds now.
Brilliant job.
That is astonishing. Yeah, more than in hand for the handicap as well.
Well, on the previous lap, he was 8/10 quicker than Laventia Revesz. This time it was a 1:45.5, still faster than Laventia Revesz's previous time of 1:46. We'll see where Revesz is now, but just given the nature of the attack that Tom Leben has been placing upon Revesz, it's sort of keeping him distracted almost from focusing on Carl Bennett's gap right now as they cross the line again, and it's again a 1:46.4, very nearly a second a lap faster, Carl Bennett right now, and still continuing his phenomenal work in behind the wheel of the Ferrari 2964 AF Corsa. Revesz also doing a great job, though, to keep Leben in behind. Two former single-seater drivers now meeting in big, bulky GT3 machinery and have given us a great show like they have done all season long as they come out of Curva Grande on the run down through towards the Roggia. Drive-through penalty for cars 65 and 5 for refueling with the engine on. So that's Heiko Neumann and Lucas Stunner in the 65 and the number 5 of the Olymp team of Christian Korzanowski and Stanislav Jedlinski.
Interesting. Okay. Now, they were called up in the same message as the Steve Jans car. I wonder if... Well, they didn't serve a drive-through penalty, though, did they get speed? So it's interesting.
Well,
let's see if we get any word on that.
Yep, Serraglio straight, though, at the moment for Leben as he continues to pepper the back of the Mercedes-AMG GT3. Bess answering all the questions that Leben has asked so far, but for how much longer can he carry this on? We've got 10 minutes until the next driver change. Oh no!
Oh, this is Jans back in again.
Jans in again.
So what they've done, they've taped up the front of this car, and the tape's come undone. But we didn't see any mechanical flag, unless we just missed it, for this car. So there was no requirement, I don't think, for them to come and do that, unless they've seen something on the data that suggests it would be critical to their race in order to meet the checkered flag, that they would have to do that. But clearly, whatever solution they've tried, it's not worked, because Steve Jans is back in pit lane again, and this championship now is very much in the hands of Pierberg and Baumann.
I mean, they've pretty much forfeited it. Well, I mean, with the additional pit stop now again, obviously it's just allowing more freedom for Pierberg and Baumann to just continue this rampant run now in this race ahead of their Pro-Am contenders. And they're wheeling it into the garage.
Terminal.
So our Pro-Am Championship leaders coming into the weekend. It's a poor day for Steve Jans and Aaron Walker. It didn't really go right from the start, really, Chris. 10-second time penalty after the nudge in the back at the start of the race. They tried as they might. They did have the gap originally. It came back down to 8 seconds. And now, after 2 stops additional on top of the driver change, they've now lost the race lead in Pro-Am.
Valentin Pierberg trying to play it cool in the garage there, but I wouldn't be at all surprised, George, if all their problems have stemmed from that initial contact that Steve Jans had at the very start of the race.
I truly believe that that was the case. We just saw the buckled front end on the grille of the Mercedes-AMG GT3. There must have been some nefarious damage underneath that bonnet somewhere where they've tried to tape it up, keep it on the car. And we saw what happened as well to the Racing Trevor BMW with the rear end shredded away. It's easily done as now once again Revesz and Leben come close together.
Sorry, it's Dominic Baumann in the garage. Valentin
Yes,
Pierberg's in the car
at the moment.
Excuse me. I think Yannick Mettler's here this weekend as well. Obviously, racing the sister car from Carbahn that isn't racing this weekend, but here to support his teammates in their Pro-Am Championship.
Pierberg is slightly taller than Yannick Mettler. In fact, he's the tallest man in the pit lane.
He is. I was very happy. I spoke to him yesterday. He was sat down. Made me feel much better.
Yeah.
It's less than an hour to go, though. 25 laps left on the clock before we reach 500 kilometers in this race. And, well, we talked about how much Maxi Goertz was looking at the back of this car throughout the second stint. I'm pretty sure that Tom Leben's going to be fed up of looking at the back of that Mercedes as well now in this one.
No question. Look at the gap now, 21.2. Bennett still continues to carve out a decent display. Not quite 2 tenths faster than Revesz last time, but it was still an improvement. Or not an improvement, but still better than Revesz's previous lap time. But Revesz doesn't necessarily have to worry too much about Carl Bennett. He needs to worry as to what's going on behind him, by and large. But especially with Riker being 10.5 seconds down, Revesz still very much in the driving seat for this championship title as Simonazzi gets past Alexander West now. Simonazzi also looking to flourish in a single-seater racing career. We'll know a little bit about Levente Revesz as the two of them were obviously fighting it out together in the Euro Formula Open Championship. Now this time they share a paddock again in the International GT Open. And I would really love to see a full-season campaign with Simonazzi behind the wheel. And you never know, Jerry Cannaviccio might rub his hands together and make that happen.
Would be great to see, wouldn't it? Seems like GT3 is going to be Simonazzi's future after a attempt at prototype racing in the European Le Mans Series, but at, what is he, 6'3", 6'4"?
Yeah, very
has found
tall.
himself a little bit cramped inside those cars.
Yeah,
This is the drive-through penalty for the Heiko Neumann, Lucas Dunner car. It's the latter at the wheel, the Austrian racer, and will fall a lap down to the race leader. And so will come out, should still come out 8th in the Pro-Am classification.
Got quite a healthy gap to Hannes Selger, which was around about 28.8 as we look at it last time. Obviously that will change as he rejoins and crosses the next sector stripe, but in fact it has come down already, I believe. Oh no, it hasn't yet, but we will find out shortly. As now Revesz makes his way through towards the Rogier. There is Neumann in the background. Of course, Heiko Neumann, Lucas Dunner, I should say, in place of Heiko Neumann. He's now making his way through the sector stripe now, and we'll wait and see when Johannes Selger crosses it to see how much time he did indeed lose through the drive-through. Revesz, though, still nursing this P2 away. 20.7, he has brought it down a little bit. Of course, it was a little bit more advanced than this. We were talking 21s before, so Revesz now starting to put the work in. And indeed, in the last lap, for the first time in a long, long time, Revesz was faster than Carl Bennett by 0.6 of a second. Leben, obviously still all over the back of Revesz, has not yet found the answer to get him past the Hungarian.
No, he hasn't. Despite all his best efforts to balance the performance, clearly working quite well between the Ferrari and the Mercedes at the moment, isn't it? Because these two are incredibly evenly matched out there. Riker now 11.3 behind. Dean McDonald still running a very lonely race in 5th position.
I think they've done somewhat well. I have to say, after the chaos that ensued at the very start, they were in the midst of a big tussle, of course, that we witnessed with the Optimum Motorsport of Mikey Porter.
Yes.
At the very start. Obviously, Mikey Porter fared distinctly worse, obviously, in that exchange, but McDonald's car was also placed further back, so they've recovered the places, by and large, to currently sit 5th. But obviously, we'll have to wait and see whether they can maintain it when the next driver change window opens up.
In 4 minutes' time, which will be. So, pit lane is about to open for business again very soon, and I just wonder if you do anything different here, if you're Elite Motorsport, to try and get around this Mercedes. We've seen it work in previous stops. Now, coming up on the traffic now, that could be the difference, but Maxi Goetz, a very experienced driver, he'll know better than to allow Tom Leben an opportunity through traffic like that, which is exactly what Carl Bennett is facing at the moment. He's got the Santaloc Audi right in front of him at the moment, and who is driving that? It's Michael Blanchimont, and then Marcelo Ramirez right in front of him. So this should be relatively easy pickings here for Carl Bennett, although still following the Audi through the curve at Alboreto. And 2 more laps, you'd say, before coming in for that final pit stop, which is where the handicaps will be served.
I can imagine he's going to take full advantage of it, because it will mean that he's taken out of the initial lap traffic that he's currently dealing with, so it won't slow him up too much. It's probably the best opportune time to undertake your pit stop. At the same time, Antal Zygo moving, or Max Hesse moving past, I believe that was Michael Blanchimont, he moved past then to move into 16th, so taking full advantage as the race leader of Carl Bennett moved by. There is Revesz. I just want to say as well, Mark Sampson doing a great job leading the AM class at the moment for Garage 59. Gino Forgione, AM P2, but with the driver change window now coming up in just over 2 minutes, I would imagine Forgione will come in at the earliest time of asking to make way for multi-time champion in the International GT Open, Michele Rugolo, who will take over the wheel, and the decision will then be in the hands of Mark Sampson. Does he feed the opportunity then for Polcini, who's got the important job of bringing the car home, for Mark Sampson to win the title in AM?
Yeah, then they'll maximise the Polcini time. And it must be so bizarre, because both he and Revesz are in this situation. You've got to hand over to someone else who will then carry your championship hopes to the checkered flag.
You're putting your eggs in your basket, really, aren't you?
A little bit. I mean, I suppose it's the same for everyone, but
yeah, of course.
you know it's not the same thing on the line.
Well, someone else is doing it for someone else, aren't they, ultimately?
It's not the same thing on the line.
No, especially when the other driver isn't going to win the title.
Yeah.
They're there to obviously assist you in winning the title at that point.
But that is the situation that Mark Sampson and Levente Revesz find themselves in. For Revesz, he knew it going into the season, but for Mark Sampson, obviously there was plans that didn't pan out. Goetz getting a lot of rear end. Sorry, Levente Revesz is getting a lot of rear end movement as we hit the 2-hour mark in this race. This is what has happened so far. It was Tom Leben who took the initiative into the first corner, but contact between Steve Jans and Jaden Kelly, and then the other Greystone car getting in strife as well, making contact with the Optimum Motorsport at McLaren. Dramas for Amir Naran, dropping the Vimana by Get Speed car into the barriers. That brought out the safety car for a little bit. Driver change window opened, and it was Tommaso Mosca who climbed aboard the AF Corsa Ferrari. That would fight for the lead with Tom Empson around the outside of the Della Roggiette chicane. Brilliant stuff there from Mosca, who ended up clearing off into the distance. A penalty for the 63 Oregon Lamborghini for pitching around Heiko Neumann's Motor Park Mercedes, as the driver change window opened again. Simon Riker taking over from Christopher Haase and briefly emerging in second place. He repelled the advances of Tom Leben for a while, but eventually the young Briton found his way through into second place in this race, or what we thought was going to be second place, before Levente Reves came out of the pits right in front of both of them. 50 minutes or so left on the clock, or 21 laps, whichever we hit first. It's 19 seconds, the gap between Carl Bennett and Levente Reves at the head of the field. What's gone on here at the Della Roggiette? Oh, bizarre moment there for the 62 of Ibrahim Badawi. Yeah, like he pulled the handbrake.
The new AF Corsa entry coming in, and yeah, I'd be surprised if maybe that's what he did. I think almost just to put an immediate stop.
You have to have found one in the car first.
Well, that's true,
yeah. Don't know.
But the effect certainly is the same.
Yeah.
As though we witnessed Dominic Baumann and, of course, Valentin Pierberg swapping over. Oh, nearly falling out of the car. As now, obviously, they undertake the driver change. Baumann will see the remaining stint through. And you couldn't have a safer pair of hands, Chris, to have behind the wheel to take a Pro-Am Championship crown.
So, driver change window open. It's 13 minutes on the clock here. This is where the handicaps will be served. And so, for that SPS car, it's 10 seconds that they'll be taking. They were going to be on equal footing. Oh, now they're getting bandaged up as well. Hopefully, this is not a sign of drama.
I was going to mention this. I did see vibration on the front end of that SPS performance, but I didn't think too much of it because the hood was obviously very well strapped. I'm wondering whether this is more a precautionary measure because they're aware of what happened to Steve Jans and obviously Aaron Walker.
You wouldn't want to block up the front like that, not with something so crass as well. Okay, well, may well be precautionary because of something else, but that is potential dramas there for the team that is well placed in the Pro-Am Championship. In comes Mark Sampson from the lead in AM to hand over to Marco Pulcini. No relation to Leo, who we've seen racing with Oregon this year, the factory driver from Lamborghini, but now Mark Sampson's AM hopes for the title are in Marco Pulcini's hands.
So, quite conveniently enough, both Pulcinis are former GT Open champions in some degree.
Yes, Pulcini in the Pro-Am classification, as in came the Pro-Am leader as well, Alex Fontana getting aboard the second place car as well, with Benji Goethe getting back aboard the number 8 Garage 59 McLaren. Here it is. But Philippe Salacada staying out until the end of this pit window, you'd have thought, before Libor Milota takes it to the checkered flag. Anthony Bartone just going straight across the chicane there, losing a couple of spots. Currently in 8th position is Bartone.
Alexander West, obviously now looking to swap out for Benji Goethe. It was wheel to wheel. Now is the ISR Audi.
That was full position. They were battling for position going into the chicane.
Yeah.
So that was Salacada potentially trying to make the move there on Bartone, and Bartone straight lined the chicane.
Yeah. So he didn't feel like he had the room to make his way through as the 82 of Marcelo Ramirez and Ralph Aaron also swap places. Ralph Aaron will now step into the car. As the swap now gets underway, we rejoin the battle between Revesh and Leben, both of them continuing on this stint. Still 10 minutes and 20 or so. In fact, 30 or so to go in the driver change period. Johannes Zelger now moving up into 13th, getting past all those cars that have now made their way into the pits. Out lap now for Alex Fontana, who now rejoins the action along with Benji Goethe. And others still obviously to park up inside the pits to undertake their driver changes, though largely many of these drivers, the faster ones. Obviously now we see the Oregon Team Lamborghini come in. Artem Petrov, Francesco Simonazzi now about to swap out for one another. Petrov taking the next stint.
So change at Oregon. And who else is in the pit lane at the moment? Darren Leong getting back aboard the track-focused McLaren.
Yeah, of course,
third place car in AM. And then, yes, this after that bizarre moment for Ibrahim Badawi at the first chicane. And in comes the race leader as well, Tommaso Mosca, climbing back aboard the 51.
Yeah, Mosca, who put in a mighty stint earlier on, has just witnessed Carl Bennett do a heroic job himself. The gap was maintained by and large.
But this is where they'll lose 10 seconds to these two cars.
Of course. So this is where that gain time is going to count to them potentially protecting this race lead. Obviously, time lost really largely for Levente Ravesh and Tom Leben because they've been so busy fighting one another that really it's allowed the AF Corsa pairing to continue onwards into the distance, though remember the top three who may now register on our timing screen as ahead of Mosca, they are still yet to undertake their next driver change. McDonald also is going to have to come in eventually. So we'll see where Mosca comes out in all of this. I'd imagine largely they might come out in front of Salakada here. We will wait and see. Obviously Robin Rogalski stepping up inside the second Oregon car as well. And he'll be taking over the use of the number 19 Oregon Lamborghini, which Rodrigo Testa was driving as well. Fabio Babini stepping back in place of Johannes Zelga. At the same time, also put in quite a mighty stint in the Pro-Am class as well. As now we see the 62 breezing back out onto the track. No issues with the pit stop this time. Did not overstay their welcome out on circuit. Therefore, they have met the agreed upon time. It's now the 19 sits in the pits waiting to go back out. It is now Robin Rogalski in behind it, with Rodrigo Testa now leaving the cockpit.
So still Reves and Lebon who are circulating out there, neither of them trying to do anything different in this one. I thought maybe Lebon would do something to get around Reves, but nothing doing. In comes what was the second place car in AM, obviously inherited it when the Garage 59 McLaren came in.
Polchini comes out.
It's Michele Rugolo who takes over, but that car can afford to finish third in the race with Polchini and Sampson winning and still take the title on countback.
You know, 6 points, wasn't it, between them?
Yeah, and because they've had an impressive run of 8 victories this year, it would still go to the AF Corsa crew if they were tied on points.
Yeah, obviously, Sampson needing a little bit of luck as well. This very late stage of the race, 42.56 to go. And once again, we witness the Reves and Leben battle. Obviously now it's 1 and 2, but those places will be forfeit when they come in to the pit lane. Mosca has come out P7 now behind Anthony Bartone as it stands. Of course, Bartone currently 0.7 of a second away from Salakada at the moment. And McDonald in P4, of course, we know that many of which inside that top end are still yet to undertake their driver change. But Reves at the moment doing his best to try and maintain this on-track race lead. Of course, could be won and lost in the pits here between those two. See, Leben will be giving way to Tom Emerson, who did a decent job on his outing, keeping Maxi Gertz in behind, as now the 21 of Michele Rugolo ventures back out onto the track. Marco Polchini is in front of Rugolo as they cross the stripe.
So it's advantage Garage 59 in the race, advantage AF Corsa in the championship in the AM category. DDR Grupo Prom car, Louis Michael Dorbecker getting back aboard for Alfredo Hernandez. Sun's starting to poke back out now. The track temperature has been dropping quite gradually over the course of this race. It was not exactly a warm morning, I will say. It's not exactly turned into a warm day either as we approach 2 p.m. local time here at the National Park of Monza. Still it is Levente Reves soaking up the pressure from Tom Leben, and maybe it's his Eastern European nature, but I've think it's very hard to get Levente Reves's heartbeat up.
He's always been a cool, calm and collected character, I must say. Really thrives in racing and showing all his class once again in what would be a phenomenal achievement for a young driver to step into GT3 racing for the first time and lift your first title in your first official year. And Motorpark delivering this as well. Obviously a team that has been historically oh so dominant in single-seaters in the Euro Formula Open Championship. Well, how about this, winning an overall crown, albeit a driver's title here with Levente Reves. They've had success elsewhere in other categories before, with Heiko Neumann, for example, and of course Timo Rumpfkeil, the team boss at Motorpark. That was, of course, in AM class, wasn't it, Chris? Really before, but this a proper,
yes, of course,
a proper first go at a overall championship.
Reves is in.
As Reves comes into the pits. Of course, Heiko Neumann, Timo Rumpfkeil winning the AM class back in 2023. So Reves will now hand over to Maxi Goertz for the final time here at Monza.
Levente Reves has done everything he needed to do. Now his championship hopes are in the hands of Maxi Goertz. Pretty safe hands, you'd have thought, but I'm sure he's going to be on tenterhooks, whatever his equivalent, his cool, calm and collected look of tenterhooks seems to be. So he straps Maxi Goertz back into the car. Fresh set of Michelin tyres going aboard the number 11 Motorpark Mercedes. So they're going for their first overall title. They've fought for it for the last couple of years since this program began in 2023. They've fallen short of the mark on every occasion. So Reves back into the garage, wait for the fuel to go in. No additional handicap to serve. And Goertz will make his way back out into the race shortly.
It's going to be the longest 39 minutes of Levente Reves's life, I think, right now, as he makes his way into the garage. It's out of his hands right now. He wants to win the title. All his hopes and prayers are stashed away behind the wheel, with the man holding it being Max Goertz, making his way out of the pit lane. Motorpark looking to deliver a Drivers' Championship crown in the overall title race in the International GT Open for the 2025 season campaign. And rejoining the circuit here at Monza, the Temple of Speed, there is, of course, the car as well, I believe. I think it's a lot further up the road, though, than that, as we now watch them undertake Curva Grande.
No,
it is them,
that's
isn't
it right there.
Goodness me, that is
but
very...
that's way less than, like, the 8 seconds they should, in theory, have had in hand.
It was 20 seconds, the gap. It would still be 12, you'd anticipate, as they rejoin.
Yeah, but they lost 10, so you'd expect it to be about 10, but it's not, it's 1. Well, okay.
Extraordinary.
Oh, did Mosca have a difficult lap? No, he's gone straight into the 49s. Wow. So either Reves just had a monster end to that stint, or Mosca's had some sort of drama out there that we haven't caught, but suddenly it's game on again as Haase prepares to get back aboard the Audi.
Yeah, and it's going to be a very important final stint as well for the Easterlen's Audi team, who arrived into the weekend after a blissful qualifying session. Of course, they were punished after some track limits infringements after the protest was lodged by Motorpark, who, of course, are also in pursuit of the title. Everyone wants to win here. The 33 McLaren in for its stop as well. James Kell will be heading in place of Dean McDonald, as now we see them come close together. The 77 now in behind, obviously largely been at the very rear of the field. Louis Michael Dorbecker. There is the 11 of Max Goertz, who has just taken over from Levente Reves. They all wait.
Where's Haase going to come out then? That's the question.
We'll soon find out. Just see their work being done at Optimum Motorsport McLaren as well. Zach Meakin and Mikey Porter swapping places.
There go the leaders. So Haase will be a fair way behind, I'd have thought. Just coming out of the pit lane exit.
1.2 between Mosca and Goertz.
How on earth has that happened?
It's truly astonishing. I cannot believe that they have lost, by and large, 9 seconds in that one moment, as now we see, I believe, Michele Rugolo moving his way through past Haase. That's certainly not something that Haase is going to appreciate, because that, again, is time that he needs to gain. So Anton Zygo and Max Hesse now swap places. Zygo doing the final stint.
Yeah, there's Hesse who started that car, and in comes Tom Empson, or Tom Leben, from what was the lead of the race. Tom Empson climbing back aboard. And then something tells me he's going to have to soak up even more pressure in this stint.
Now, with the time loss that Mosca has had against Gertz, how's this going to affect the current situation with Tom Emson now?
Well, he was behind the motorpark car, wasn't he? So, we'll see. Unless
it's going to be close.
Yeah, Leban might have been able to do some good laps in clean air. The driver change window is now closed. So, whatever we have now, it's got to be settled on the racetrack. Mosca coming out of Ascari and Tom Emson still in pit lane. Question is going to be, we got yellow flags out at the final corner at the Alboreto curve. Hopefully we're about to see why as Mosca makes his way around that Alboreto curve. Nothing visible on what we can see, but there are yellow flags there.
Emson's
Here comes Tom Emson. He's coming out of pit lane now. I think there was a car stationary at the side of the road on the exit of Alboreto, but this is for the lead of the race, and it looks like it's just going to be Tom Emson. No. Here comes Tommaso Mosca with the momentum on the outside, and yes, it is just going to be the AF Corsa car that leads going into the Rettifilio, but somehow, after about 2.5 hours of racing, these three cars have still got nothing between them.
20-second gap, swallowed instantaneously. 10 seconds of it, of course, was the handicap that they had to serve, and now...
the track-focused car of Darren Leong, and that also almost as good as seals the championship for Michele Rugolo and Gino Forgione, because there's only one contender left running in this race, and they can finish in the top three. So
and they're a lap down.
Yeah, so that pretty much guarantees AF Corsa the championship there in the AM category.
Yeah, they've got the points advantage. It's been a stunning campaign for Forgione and Rugolo.
But George, if we need a safety car to clear that car, then suddenly it's a half-hour or so sprint to the finish for the championship between Mosca, Emson, Gertz and Haase, who is currently 16 seconds from the race leader, would suddenly be right on the back of him again.
Yeah, well, Mosca intent now on trying to get past the sea of traffic, and obviously doesn't want to be left in the palms and the clutches of Tom Emson. Obviously, at the moment, Maxi Gertz starting to hunt down Emson at the moment. Just look at this, they're almost 3 wide here, these back markers that are fighting their own fight right now. Mosca going the long way around as he looks to get past the Racing Trevor BMW M4 GT3.
Yes, that's Zigo, Aaron and Pla fighting for 15th, 16th and 17th overall in this race as the race leader tries to get around them. Well, he's cleared the BMW at the very least, and it's Ralph Aron trying to take 15th from Jim Pla. Pla's very late on the brakes in the Audi around the outside, takes it back.
Smoothly does it though.
Yes, he very much did. And look at that, game on again. Gertz and Emson.
Yeah, it's getting very, very tight. Emson's gap that he did once have has now been dissipated in one brief moment. Here is the championship. Obviously, it will go Rives's way. Here is the Optimum Motorsport McLaren. There is the Track Focus McLaren.
Mechanical, clear or technical, because there was nothing obviously wrong with it. But, yeah, 6 points, the advantage for Rives over Carl Bennett and Tommaso Mosca. They need some sort of intervention for that motorpark car, don't they? Because they're doing everything right at the moment, even if they did lose their 20-second advantage.
I think there's an escape road up there, so they might be fortunate enough to just tow that Darren Lung Track Focus McLaren out the way. So they might be all right, I think, without the safety car for now. But we now watch as the drivers make their way through towards the Ascari chicane. Here's an update in terms of the Pro-Am title race. Dominic Baumann, Valentin Pierberg have it in the palm of their hands, don't they, folks? Steve Jans and Aaron Walker wheeled into the garage earlier on what looked to be a terminal problem on the front end of their Mercedes.
Yeah, so now that we've had the final driver change, let's just confirm things. Yeah, it would be Gino Forgione, Michele Rugolo for the title. It's Tommaso Mosca who leads for AF Corsa by not much at all over Tom Emson for Elite and Maxi Gertz for Motorpark. And then Christopher Haase for East Talent and James Kell for Greystone. Just look to see where Gertz is. He's still a little bit mired in the traffic. In Pro-Am, it's Alex Fontana who leads in his first race appearance for the Tsunami Racing team by 2.6 seconds to Benji Gertz's Garage 59 McLaren. And then third is Libor Milotta at the moment for Team ISR. But something tells me that Dominic Baumann is going to have him pretty soon, because he's only 2 cars back and about less than half a second away from that podium spot. Marco Polcini leads in AM for Garage 59, but in the championship position is Michele Rugolo for AF Corsa, with Christian Korzanowski, the only other AM car left running. It's only those 3 now in 3rd position for Olymp as Mosca makes his way through the traffic.
Yeah. Doing a great job here, Tommaso Mosca, much like he did in his previous stint. And, well, licked up some of the gravel there as well on his return, but only the fringes of it. I think in that instance, certainly a lot less than what we saw. I think that was from the Olymp Racing Audi, just in behind the Racing Trevor. Of course, the 500 car that we just witnessed there. Obviously, Christian Korzanowski and Stanislav Jedlinski have been nursing that car around. It is Korzanowski behind the wheel of it at this stage. Coming into the final half an hour here of the International GT Open 2025 Championship. Korzanowski now looking to move his way up on the tail at the moment of this BMW. Of course, though, the BMW out of place here as far as Korzanowski is concerned, because Christian Korzanowski in 23rd and the Antal Zygo BMW in P17, so they are some ways apart at this stage. So we watch Empson now flying down the straight, looking to try and close up to the back of Mosca. We'll say this, Gertz in... I must say at this stage, I think he's actually forfeited 2 tenths against Empson so far. That gap was 8 tenths. It is now a second. 2 tenths actually dropped there from Gertz.
He's got clear track now between himself and Tom Empson, so we'll see what's happening there. Christopher Haase doing that Audi's best lap of the race and was faster than anybody last time around, and about 8 tenths quicker than Maxi Gertz. So he is setting about bringing down the gap to the Mercedes, which is currently 11.6 seconds.
The vibration on the front end of Valentin Pierberg and Dominic Baumann's car has stopped, so the tape is doing its job, seemingly.
And the car in front of this Motorpark Mercedes, Renger van der Zande, is Libor Milota, who's 3rd in the Pro-Am category. Dominic Baumann here, I'm sure. Oh, what's that hand signal about? Not happy with Renger there, was he?
It's not the first time we've seen him make that signal, to be honest, because there was a similar signal made when they had contact with the BMW, by and large. So
Baumann, I'm sure, trying to round out his campaign with a podium. Milota is the bronze driver aboard that Audi that's just 2 cars in front and the class rival. So van der Zande and Baumann should, in theory, be able to round up that car in the closing 10 laps of this race now. We've got 28 minutes to do it, but with really only 1 safety car intervention, we'll go down to laps rather than the time. Here comes Baumann in the slipstream of van der Zande. It's for 11th place overall, this manoeuvre, and both of them really soaking up the toe. And that was contact there with van der Zande, under braking, and Baumann's going to straight line the chicane here. And off the road goes the RSR Audi of Libor Milota on the exit. And so, well, we got half a view of what went on there, and bangs wheels with Vincent Abril's Ferrari as well, just for the sake of it. But that is, you ever seen a championship-winning car look like that? If we have an off-board of that, I'd love to see what went down between Baumann and van der Zande on that straight.
Yeah, I mean, clearly there was some clear reaction from Dominic Baumann right there with the gesturing and the hand signals as they made their way down through Curva Grande. We'll take a look now. This looks like this could be the...
Renger!
If I'm honest, I think Dominic Baumann has just cause to be a little bit miffed.
And that's why Carol Bash went off, because he had nowhere to go.
Yeah.
And then Renger ended up giving Paul Libor Milota a bit of a shove there as well. And yes, Dominic Baumann would be rightly aggrieved about that. Not really sure what Renger was doing there. Clearly just didn't quite realise that Dominic Baumann was there and alongside him, because of course van der Zande, a very experienced championship-winning driver. Now is that Baumann having to yield spots because he cut the chicane? I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, that turn 1 incident has been noted between those 4 cars.
At the very least, they've just got to limp this car home at this point and just ensure that it's, crossing the finish line with points as well in order to get past Steve Jans and Aaron Walker, who will not take any further part in this race after retiring earlier on, only completing 58 laps actually through the course of this race. A fair portion, but certainly not enough to save their championship title hopes, as we now see Mosca. There's some dust kicked up as well from a car further up, as now Mosca enlarges the gap to 3.4 seconds to Tom Empson in behind. So the job now gets back underway here for Mosca to enlarge in that gap and protect the lead, as now Bash and Baumann get confirmed past Libor Milotta, who now gets dropped down to 13th place.
Remember, Karel Bash is carrying that 10-second time penalty that I think it was Marcin Jedlinski scored in the first stint of the race. So wherever that 777 finishes, it will lose 10 seconds. So Baumann is effectively running in third position in the Pro-Am classification now for the SBS team. Car 9 team manager has been asked to report to race control. I imagine that they're going to have a word about Renger's movements. A lot more dust there on the exit of Lesmo too. Been seeing an awful lot of that this weekend. Ever since they reprofiled the curbs here a couple of years ago, see an awful lot of that now, particularly at Scari and the Lesmos, and indeed anywhere where there's gravel on this track, which is quite a fair bit of it. You see, look at that off the racing line, just all gravel. So the leader's coming up to lap, actually, that is the Pro-Am battle for third.
I just want to say that Christopher Haas is turning on the style here in the closing moments of the race. Obviously hasn't got a lot of time left to really do much, 10.8 back, but it was a personal best in the first sector anyway. His last lap, in fact, was faster. Now, this is Renger van der Zande. There's Karel Bash, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Just running off wide into the gravel. As we now ride on board here with Dominic Baumann, and this was the moment again. Obviously, that's where the dust was kicked up from that we saw. You see Baumann Pro-Am in the Pro-Am fight for the championship, looking to take the crown here when the checkered flag comes out in around 7 laps' time.
It's been an extraordinary season, hasn't it?
Favourite moments, Chris?
Oh, too many to choose from. I think it's got to be the last lap in Red Bull Ring. Mosca around the outside, overcoming that handicap. It's been a season just full of huge moments, huge drama, brilliant racing and competition. We've had 11 different pole sitters throughout the year, 6 different race winners across 4 different manufacturers as well.
Yeah, it's been hardly fought. I think for me, the greatest moment is seeing the young drivers obviously come to the Furore, obviously witnessing the likes of Levente Ravesh, who could be on the cusp now of winning his first ever GT3 championship by the first time of asking. A pro crown, which is obviously the one that every driver wants to win. Of course, this man, Tommaso Mosca, looking to put a big dent in those hopes, but obviously needs stuff to happen elsewhere in order for that to really pan out. But Gertz are doing a lovely job of maintaining his position. But we want to give, obviously, huge shout-outs to the likes of Tom Empson, Tom Leben, Josh Rattigan, also Jaden Kelly. Not to mention the 2 young drivers coming in this weekend from here, of course, at Colavita with their first start with, of course, Badawi, are also part of that duo.
I cannot wait to see what the likes of Tom Empson, Tom Leben, and the Optimum pairing as well, Zach Meakin and Mikey Porter, what they can do with another year under their belts, and Levente Ravesh as well, because they have had stellar maiden years here in this championship and just in GT3 competition in general, which none of them had before this year. And it's absolutely fantastic. I love seeing the young talents coming up through the order, and that is what this year in the championship has all been about.
I did enjoy the Marvin Kirkhofer and Tom Fleming cameo appearance at Hockenheim with the back-to-back race wins. Tom Fleming, a huge talent now as Mosca looks to go down the inside once again of the ISR Audi. Again, more traffic cleared, and again, it just goes to show that GT racing is in very good, healthy hands. It's now Colavita looks to move his way through the field, and in his case, that is a move for a place overall, 13th now.
Of course, these are the final laps for the Ferrari 296 we were mentioning earlier, with the Evo kit coming for next year, so we have a slightly revised look to this car.
An appropriate swan song, Chris, with Tommaso Mosca leading the way.
Absolutely. The teams are very confident of all getting the Evo kit for next year. The new Porsche arriving for next year. Maybe the new Lamborghini. We'll see what the production numbers are like before we commit to that. We'd love to keep the Huracan around for a little bit, just to listen to that V10 engine for a little bit longer.
And great excitement as well, leading through to the International GT Open for 2026. We will go to Italy twice in one single season, not only Monza, but we will be going to Misano next campaign. By and large, exciting trip awaits for the International GT Open.
Yeah, another star-studded calendar. Back to Hockenheim, Budapest, Portimao, Paul Ricard. All the best tracks across Europe. It's very popular. Once again, it will be the 500 kilometers at Spa and Monza. And that all kicks off on April 18th, 2026 in Portimao. Now, potential dramas here for Christopher Haase in 4th position as he kicks up a little bit of the gravel. Not too much drama though. He has brought down the gap quite significantly. On the previous lap, it was by 0.9 of a second. The gap now 9.2 to Maxi Goetz, who is still staring at the back of the elite Ferrari of Tom Empson.
Yeah, it's purple final sector as well for Tommaso Mosca over the last lap at the same time. So well done to Mosca on pulling out all the stops. It has been a spectacular second half of the season for this duo of Mosca and Bennett. Bennett, I must say, I think has been at his most impressive really today, though you can largely say that Red Bull Ring was a standout performance. That was, of course, their first back-to-back performance in terms of race wins. Paul Ricard race 2, Red Bull Ring race 1. They've just come off the back of a victory at Barcelona in race 2, and they're now set to win a 500 race in the International GT Open at Monza, a home track for AF Corsa and Ferrari as a whole, and also Tommaso Mosca's home track by and large at the same time too. So lots of reasons for the Italian outfit to celebrate as they look to land at their 4th win of the season.
Unfortunately for AF Corsa, the title's going to have to wait another year, and East Talent will not be getting their 3rd title in as many seasons. And we talked about at the top of the show, no one has ever won back-to-back overall titles. Well, it looks like that's going to remain the case as well, with 4 laps remaining now for the race leader. Contact for the second place car, and that allows Maxi Goetz to go through. So tripping up there against the ISR Audi. Now, hopefully that hasn't done any significant damage to the Ferrari.
Well, that's only going to help out Levente Reves in this situation. Goetz now, though, it's his task to get past the ISR Audi as they head down in towards the next chicane. And it will be a nice, easy trip for Max Goetz.
Let's see this again. So it was side-by-side between the Santaloc and the ISR. And unfortunately, Libor Milota was unaware of the Ferrari that was alongside him on the exit of the corner, and Tom Empson finding out the hard way there that little moments like that can have quite big consequences. Big spray of gravel, and Maxi Goetz goes through. So that is a change for 2nd place in this race. Oh, now if you're Tommaso Mosca, the last news you want to hear, by the way, Maxi's in 2nd place now. The gap's 6.6 seconds, but surely with only 3 laps remaining after this one, this has got to be Mosca and Bennett now. 5-second time penalty for Renger van der Zande for causing a collision by the sounds of it.
Yeah, no question. So obviously getting punished for the moment with Dominic Baumann. You see Baumann just needs to bring the car home. Already one of the pieces of tape have broken away. You can just see on that front-end grille on that Mercedes-AMG GT3 with Baumann behind the wheel. But still that one piece holding everything together as they come down in towards turn 1.
Your hopes and dreams of a championship being held together by a bit of duct tape.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, it's good duct tape, Chris.
Racing is an art, not a science, isn't it?
Fantastic advert for the duct tape brand in question.
Yeah, so if you're that brand, get in touch.
Coming through Curva Grande, and now the Rogier coming next. There you can see Renger van der Zande's car. You can see just in the distance, Baumann will be hoping that they don't meet again out on circuit, because of course it's all about the Pro-Am title for him. And looking to lift his first aloft, and also grant Valentin Pierberg a 2nd. And of course, the last one coming back in 2018 as now they sweep through the Lesmo sections. Karel Basch just in front of the AF course right now. Your race leader, Tommaso Mosca, launches again at 33.2, fastest of any driver in the first sector, bar Christopher Haase, but more importantly, faster than Goetz and Empson. Haase laying down a personal best of a 33.165 in Sector 1, still putting the burners on, trying to at least bring together a grandstand finish. And obviously 3 laps to go here in the International GT Open. We're about to wave sayonara to 2K25 with Levente Revesh tentatively waiting, I'm sure, in the garage, hoping, praying that Gertz can do the business.
2 laps to go. Tension must be mounting so much inside the garages.
A long 3 laps.
It has been an extraordinary title fight, a to and a fro between the Motorpark Mercedes, but they started, I don't know, as they meant to go on, really. Victory in race 2 in Portimao. Victory at the Spa 500 as well. Victory in Paul Ricard in race 1, and then last time out in Barcelona as well. It's been a cracking campaign. There is Levente Revesh, just a little knee jerking there, little Christian Horner-esque knee tapping as he sits in the garage and waits for Maxi Gertz to bring the car home. But Mosca at the moment still extending his advantage over Maxi Gertz, despite the German now being in clean air with no Tom Empson in front of him. A lap and a half to go for Tommaso Mosca and Cole Bennett to bring home their 4th victory of the season.
Just dip their toes in that gravel just briefly there, Tommaso Mosca. There's the view from the AF Corse garage. Obviously, I'm sure there's going to be a resounding cheer as Mosca comes across the line. Take nothing away from Mosca, and indeed his teammate Carl Bennett, who really put in a grand display here, and what has been certainly, I think, one of the most outstanding performances in a second half of a season we have seen this campaign. So well done AF Corse for that, and a victory on home soil is going to mean oh so much to all concerned, and just magic really in terms of storytelling and in sport, as now they are about to cross the line and soon to leave. 1 lap left as Levente Revesh, the nerves are jangling, the knee, the foot is tapping. Could he become a 2025 International GT Open champion? We'll find out in a lap's time, Chris.
1 lap to go in the 2025 International GT Open Championship. The conclusion of the 20th season of this magnificent championship. We celebrated our 300th race back in Budapest as well, and it has just been full of so much drama and epic racing and brilliant competition, as it always is in this championship. I'll take a moment before we get into all the celebrations just to thank you all for joining us throughout this campaign. We do hope you've enjoyed it, because we certainly have. And this is the car that's going to end the season on top. It won't be the championship. They'll have to settle for second, but this is the closest that AF Corse has been in recent years for Tommaso Mosca and Cole Bennett. A heck of a first year in this championship. Cole Bennett really kind of been thrown in at the deep end as well, in a hugely competitive championship for his first year in this category of racing. Got the sister car just in front of him as well, the Pro-Am Vincent Abril. How compliant is Vincent going to be? Not fighting for anything at the moment. He's sort of running solo. There's the car that has the champion in waiting. There is the champion in waiting himself and his entourage. Tommaso Mosca through the Curva Alboreto for the final time. It won't be the title, but it will be a 4th victory of the season and a win at the GT Open 500 at Monza. Victory on home soil for AF Corse, but in second position for Maxi Gertz. This is the year of the rookie. Levente Revesh is the 2025 International GT Open champion.
First time in GT3 machinery, fresh out of a single-seater race car. He stands alone, he stands tall. The hungry Hungarian Levente Revesh is your International GT Open 2025 champion, and it's a first one overall for Motorpark and a second title as a team if you factor in the AM title from 2 seasons ago.
And with the time penalty for Olymp, Dominic Baumann and Valentin Pierberg take 3rd position in Pro-Am to be Pro-Am champions of 2025 as well. Across the line has come Michele Rugolo, who claims the AM championship alongside Gino Forgione. Last lap dramas for Benji Goethe in 2nd position in Pro-Am. We're yet to see the leaders in Pro-Am across the line. but it will still be second place for Benji Goethe and Alex West in their first appearance together. Alex Fontana and Bashar Mardini reunited, their first appearance for the Tsunami Racing team, and it will be victory in Pro-Am for them. Marco Polcini and Mark Sampson will take the victory in the AM classification, but it won't be enough to stop Michele Rugolo and Gino Forgione, who claim the AM championship. What a day for Team Motorpark, their first overall championship in GT3 competition. Maxi Goetz bringing home the goods. Second place was enough in the end. Levente Reves, the rookie champion.
An astonishing effort for any young driver to move through into such a competitive side of motorsport. Levente Reves is your 2025 champion. Of course, the story of the campaign is thus: it all kicked off in Grand Style at Portimao for race 2, where the first victory was laid down. They came away with a 500 victory. Back at Spa, of course, 30 points then launched them even higher as he sided alongside Maxi Goetz for the first time this campaign. The next win did not come till Paul Ricard. Run through the classification, Chris.
Tommaso Mosca and Carl Bennett take their 4th win of the season, 7.8 clear of Reves and Goetz in the end for Motorpark, who are crowned Drivers' Champions in 2025, with the Toms at Elite Motorsport completing the podium. Christopher Haase and Simon Riker 4th in the end, with Greystone GT 5th in their McLaren. Rodrigo and Testa and Robin Rogalski 6th for Oregon. Bashar Mardini and Alex Fontana take the Pro-Am win for Tsunami Racing, with Simonazzi and Petrov's Oregon Lamborghini splitting themselves. And the second place car in Pro-Am, which was Benji Goethe and Alex West, Renger van der Zande and Bartone completing the top 10. Dominic Baumann and Valentin Pierberg, Pro-Am champions for SBS, with 3rd position in class. Mark Sampson and Marco Polcini taking the AM win for Garage 59 in 20th position overall. But it was not enough to stop Gino Forgione and Michele Rugolo, who take the AM championship, with Stanislav Jedlinski and Christian Korzanowski completing the AM podium. We lost Darren Leong, Steve Yance, Peter Fullin, Milos Pavlovic, Amir Naran and Jaden Kelly. And confirmation, Levente Reves, the champion of 2025. Carl Bennett and Tommaso Mosca needed just a little bit more in the end, with Simon Riker and Christopher Haase, the outgoing champions in the International GT Open, have to settle for 3rd in the standings. And before Maxi Goetz has even parked up, the slams on the hood from the team. Levente Reves already down there. This has been a very formidable combination, even though we haven't seen it throughout the entire year, of course, due to Maxi Goetz's schedule. What a heck of a moment for Tommaso Mosca and Carl Bennett as well, who round out this season on a high. And surely, if they stick around for another year, have got to be contenders as the celebrations at Motorpark also commence.
A result long remembered, I am sure. And Timo Revkal giving permission to Levente Reves to hop up on the roof of the car.
It's not as sturdy as you think, the top of those things. They do flex quite a bit.
We saw something similar back in 2022 with Leonardo Polcini and Benjamin Hites. They both stood on top of the Lamborghini Huracan GT3. Levente Reves, though, what an astonishing championship. Coming off the back now, 4 race wins in the campaign. Maxi Goetz celebrating alongside his teammate. Of course, Goetz integral also to this Reves campaign. Of course, it takes 2 to tango at times, even in this scenario where Goetz obviously didn't take part in a strong majority of these races. Of course, he did take part in a strong majority, but not the whole campaign. We did see, of course, Matteo Cairoli stepping up as well. But Levente Reves, what an astonishing debut campaign in GT3 racing.
It's been incredible. A year ago, he was wrapping up his Euro Formula Open championship with Motorpark, putting his efforts and preparation in towards this, and boy, has it paid off, because he has come away with the overall title in his first year of GT3 racing, taking to this like a duck to water.
I mean, Maxi Goetz obviously just giving him essentially the validation. I mean, Goetz is obviously a well-known character in the realms of GT3 racing, and you know, a true professional, you know, and you know, a driver that commands factory status. Obviously, it could do a lot for Reves's career working alongside him. Obviously, at a tender young age to win a title like this in the manner that he has done so, winning 4 races through the course of the campaign. It all helps out. We're going to pan across to our Pro-Am champions as well. Valentin Pierberg, a second-time Pro-Am champion in the International GT Open, standing tall alongside Dominic Bamman, who's laid claim to his first title as well. I mean, all the more reason to celebrate. And yes, the one piece of duct tape has survived.
Made all the difference, didn't it? Your heart goes out to Steve Janssen and Aaron Walker, because that was a heck of a fight throughout the entire year, and they've done an awful lot to be proud of. 4 wins to their name, but in the end it was the 2 wins and a flurry of podium finishes for SBS that made the difference.
Tight. Super tight. Yes.
Super tight, yeah, wow.
It's time for the podium as well, but soon enough we will be hearing from them, I'm sure.
Yeah, making their way up to the interview. So, it is Levente Reves who seals the International GT Open Championship at the first time of asking, with a second-place finish in the GT Open 500 at Monza. Tommaso Mosca and Carl Bennett, the winners.
Tommaso Mosca, Carl Bennett, winners of the GT Open 500 in Monza. A very nice win, but of course a little bit regret.
Yeah, it was a great win. We had a very, very good car from F Corse. We did, I think, a fantastic job, both of us. It was not enough for the championship. We are vice champions, but they did better in the start of the season, so good job to them. And I'm happy for the result, and I'm happy for Carl. He did an amazing job from the second race to the end, so I'm very, very happy, and nothing else.
Carl, you did the maximum you could do today. Great season, though.
Yeah, first of all, I just want to say thank you to AF Corsa, thank you to my teammate, thank you to A14 management, and just everyone, you know. I'm so lucky to be here racing, and yeah, we gave it all this time.
Well done, guys. Enjoy the moment.
Again, good job, guys.
Well, while we wait for Maxi and Levente, we can go to them now. The champions of 2025.
And we have the champion, Levente Reves, and I would like to say the champions, because actually you did almost all season, Max. Levente, how you feel?
I feel amazing, really good. I mean, first season in GT Open, can't ask for a better place to be. Amazing, really huge thank you to Motorpark and my teammate Maxi, and also the other 2 guys who jumped in when he was not available. So yeah, really good.
It's great, a young guy, first year in GT3, which is not your case, Max.
Yeah, so I did it for a long time now, and yeah, I'm super happy to be part of this great team and of his success. To be honest, I'm not champion on the paper, but I just feel like a champion.
You feel like?
Yes, yeah. Of course. We did most of the season together, but also Philip and Matteo did a great job for him. So he deserved it well, and I think it was a great final. Tight final, close fight till the end, and this is what fans want to see. And yeah, thanks to everyone. Was great.
Well done, guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
An extraordinary end to the 2025 International GT Open Championship, the GT Open 500 at Monza, with dramas straight away for the Pro-Am Championship leader into the back of Jaden Kelly's McLaren. He would pick up a time penalty for that. The sister Greystone McLaren also getting in strife with the Optimum car into the Rettifilio. But after the Elite Motorsport Ferrari took an initial lead, it was AF Corsa who took the challenge to them later on. This cracking move here from Tommaso Mosca at the Rettifilio chicane to take the lead. They would never look back. Dramas further down as the Oregon car got into the side of Heiko Neumann. East Talent bidding to become the first back-to-back champions in the GT Open. But Simon Riker would come a cropper here with the Elite Ferrari later in the race. It would be Tom Leben who would move through into our podium position over Simon Riker as we moved into the closing stages of the race. Dramas again for Steve Jans. He was out of the running for the Pro-Am Championship. Levente Reves did all he needed to do He handed over the car to Maxi Goetz for the end. Late dramas in the end with the car that ended up winning the Pro-Am Championship, almost coming under real fire from Renger van der Zande as they tried to make their way onto the podium. Tom Empson came a cropper here with the ISR Audi that allowed Maxi Goetz to go through into second position, but there was no looking back for Tommaso Mosca and Carl Bennett, who took their 4th victory of the season. But with second place, Maxi Goetz helped Levente Reves to secure the 2025 International GT Open title, his first year in GT3 racing, and he's ended it on top. And now to the podium then. The Toms ending a cracking season here with a 5th podium finish of the season. Their first year of GT3 competition. Elite Motorsport's first year in this category as well. They've learned an awful lot. It's been an exceptional ride for that squad. Levente Reves and Maxi Goetz once again on the podium together. Lose count of how many that's been now. 7, I think, for them. But on the top step, it's the Italian national anthem. The Italian national anthem ringing out over the Temple of Speed. A 4th victory for Tommaso Mosca and Carl Bennett. An extraordinary season here as the Toms, big smiles on their faces. It's been a great year for them in the International GT Open. Very much looking forward to seeing what the future holds for those 2 young stars. But there's your champion of 2025. It's a 2nd place finish that crowns Levente Reves the champion.
4 race wins later, a mass of the podiums required. Jesus Pereira, Championship CEO of the GT Sport organisation, commending the race winners, Tommaso Mosca and Carl Bennett, of course, race winners here in the GT Open 500 at Monza. Our 2nd 500 race of the season's campaign. Of course, Reves and Goetz in their first outing together as a team, winning the first 500 race that we had at Spa. So the top 2 on this podium, both tasting 500 glory through the course of this campaign too. But also credit to the 2 Toms, as you so rightly say, Chris. Phenomenal season they have had to be in this title fight right at the end of the campaign, taking that sensational victory at Hungaroring as well, amassing that 15-point total. Of course, things slipped away a little bit in race 1 at Red Bull Ring and also the first race at Barcelona, but it applied to their drop scores, helping them out a little bit on the final day. But they will be back, I'm sure, and we'll look forward to seeing how they get on in the future in terms of their GT3 careers. And a big spray in the face there from Max Goetz on Levente Reves. A moment long remembered for the Hungarian, who has really risen to the occasion in the International GT Open.
How many rising stars have we got on that podium? With Tom Leben and Tom Empson, 3rd for the Elite Motorsport crew in their Ferrari 296. 2nd place for Maxi Goetz and Levente Reves for Team Motorpark, rounding out their championship-winning campaign on the podium. On the top step, not quite enough for the title, but a 4th victory for Tommaso Mosca and Carl Bennett. Home victory for AF Corsa. Well, the crowd really enjoying that one, I'm sure, as we will shortly move on to the Pro-Am podium. as well. And do you know what? Thankfully, I'm really glad about this. All of our championship winners finished on the podium today. I think it's great when you get to see them on the podium. Nothing worse when they finish 7th and then you don't get to see.
It's a little bit of a blunt title win then when you don't get the chance to celebrate it. And on one of the most famous podiums in world motorsport as well. We see many drivers win even the pinnacle of motorsport, of course, Formula One. We've seen many great drivers come and raise championship, well, winning trophies aloft here. Pierberg and Baumann, of course, your champions of Pro-Am class here in 2025. Pierberg returning as champion. Because last time it happened for him was back in 2018 alongside Tom Onslow Cole, but with SPS Automotive Performance, and it is the team's second Pro-Am Drivers' Championship win, which I'm sure that they'll thrive on and enjoy. Credit, though, has to go to Alex West and Benji Goethe on Benji Goethe's first appearance, of course, this season alongside Alexander West as part of Garage 59 P2 on this occasion. But we witnessed the return of Alex Fontana, this time with Tsunami RT alongside Bashar Mardini, of course an excellent driver in his own right, as the third place trophies are presented to Valentin Pierberg and Dominic Baumann. But they know that means something entirely more significant. It means they are Pro-Am champions.
First title in the GT Open for Dominic Baumann, on the podium for Alexander West and Benji Goethe, their first appearance together here this season. Alex Fontana, it's a second win of the season. This was with Car Collection in Portimao when he and Hash were on the top step, but reunited with Bashar Mardini. Their first race together with the Tsunami Racing Team squad, and it has ended on the top step of the podium. Although I do say a message here that says an incident involving cars 89 and 8, that's the top 2 in this class, will be investigated after the race. So potential dramas there after the checkered flag, but nonetheless, a superb performance. And Alex and Benji not feeling the need to get in on the celebration, so clearly feeling a little aggrieved by whatever's happened there. But nonetheless, that will not dampen the spirits of Dominic Baumann and Valentin Pierberg, who have put together an incredible campaign with the SPS team. Third position for Pierberg and Baumann. They have seldom been off the podium this year, and they've ended on a high once again. Second place goes to Alexander West and Benji Goethe, their first race together for Garage 59 in this championship. But the winners, their first appearance in the Tsunami Racing Team Porsche, Bashar Mardini and Alex Fontana reunited on the top step of the Pro-Am podium.
Well, next up, of course, we have the AM class podium, which will, of course, be settled with, of course, only 3 finishers, by and large, at the very end, with Marco Polcini going to the top alongside Mark Samsung. Unfortunately, it would not be the championship title, though, in AM. Michele Rugolo alongside Gino Forgione at their home race, and for AF Corsa as well, whereas AF Corsa did not quite manage to capture the overall crown. They will, of course, celebrate at least one championship. Gino Forgione just wiping the shoes of Michele Rugolo, of course, has been a long storied member of this championship in the past as well. Rugolo almost, I would say, ascending to the same legendary status we witnessed the likes of Andrea Montemini and obviously Miguel Ramos as well. Sansom and Polcini also, I must say, a great season for Mark Samson by and large. He's had his fair share of different teammates this campaign, but, you know, they certainly gave Forgione and Rugolo a good fight right to the bitter end.
It's certainly been a lot closer than anyone expected, especially when Gino and Michele went on a 5-race winning spree. And second place is enough in the end for them to claim their first title together in this championship. Mark Sampson and Marco Polcini end the season on the top step of the podium, just not quite enough to usurp their AF Corsa rivals, but a great campaign put together by Mark Sampson. We really hope to see him back next year. Very welcome member of this paddock.
Yeah, and a credit to Garage 59 as well.
Well, mark the calendars, folks. April 18th, 2026 is when we'll be back in Portimao. Thank you so much for watching. From George Morgan, myself, Chris Stevens, and all of us here at the GT Sport organisation, thank you so much for watching.